Let's go down to our special comments man today, Rodney Eade, the former coach of the Western Bulldogs, these days the strategist at the Collingwood Football Club. Good evening, Rodney.
Thanks, Ed. Firstly, we'll take a quick look at an area for each side. If they can get right tonight, it will help them win the game. Firstly, with the Bulldogs, that we know they're very good at contested ball, that they're very good at clearances. They can work the ball forward inside 50 and be able to take some marks and have shots at goal. That will really improve their chances of winning. With St.Kilda, that we know that they're very good in the forward line. With Rewald up forward, they can kick some goals, but they'll need to match the Bulldogs in an area of contested ball and of clearance. If they can do that and at least break even, it'll give them a great chance of winning the game. It should be a big game for both teams tonight, and we're really looking forward to it, Ed.
Absolutely, Rodney. Right on the money as always. I spoke with Scott Waters in the lead up to this game, and basically Anthony Hudson, he said stoppages equals win, and that's what has been pointed out to us by Rodney Eade, who will be coming through right throughout the course of today's game. But a special welcome to Anthony Hudson, calling the action here on Fox Footy. He's going to be a beauty tonight, Anthony, and welcome aboard.
It is, Ed. Thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. There's so many parallels between these sides about where they've been, where they're at, and there's all that renewal and rebuilding and all that. But in the end tonight, it comes down to the 4 points. They both need to win, and that's what we love here. Bulldogs
on a 6-game losing streak against the Saints. You put it the other way, the Saints are on a 6-game winning streak. And a bit of humpo-bumpo there to get things going. Clay Smith and Daniel G and Shirakusa a little bit more circumspect up the other end of the ground as the young man there, well, the mature age recruit, Markovic, takes on one of the greatest players of the modern era. Let's get underway here at Etihad Stadium. It's the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda.
And so we're set to go. McAvoy and Minson, and use a little do-si-do around the ball. Eventually it goes down, and you can see they just crawl in and climb in from everywhere. You gentlemen both, Jason and Jared, gave them a chance in this match. Have you both tipped St Kilda, or any of you actually going for the Dogs?
I've tipped the Dogs.
Tipped the Dogs.
But let me just say, with a few nerves and a few preconditions on it too.
Well, it's a good scrap at the start. We're going to see plenty of that. Jack Stephen underneath all of that.
It's very interesting. They love to play Brian Lake deep. He's picked up Justin Kaczynski. I reckon Nick Rewald is more of a chance of carving you up, although they have got almost a 2-on-1 with the drop-off player playing on Rewald.
And Robert Murphy back there on Stephen Mill, and that'll be one to watch later on. Addison hacking it forward. So first opportunity for the Bulldogs inside 50. Fisher comes out with the help of Blake. And if they can control, he's Gary, but Dalhouse goes a million miles an hour as always. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
He's a rising star, though. He looks the goods. He's got that explosive speed. He negotiates traffic well. Just unable to hook the ball back in, but he needs to play well tonight if they're a chance.
So Nunes gets the kick out. Geary for St Kilda gets it to the defensive 50. Dalhouse up high again, hard at it as always, as cross over the line out of bounds, which gives us a chance to welcome the two-time North Melbourne Premiership champion David King. G'day David, welcome aboard.
Thanks Eddie, a fantastic night here expected, no doubt. The conditions are perfect with the roof closed, as we know. Big match up at full forward, Stephen Milne versus Rob Murphy. Looking forward to that one.
It looks as if they're setting up in many ways, Kingy, for the fast break play. Stephen Milne, regardless of small forward, but in many aspects, he's a small full forward.
So Dalhouse again in the thick of it, and once again he doesn't quite get the result he's after. So it looks like there's going to be some players around the footy tonight.
Also looks like Matty Boyd and Lenny Hayes are going head-to-head, and that's going to be a very entertaining duel, I suspect.
Goddard's poking his nose in there as well to maybe try and put some pressure on Boyd at the stoppage. Jones slipped it beautifully to Hayes. We saw that. And the scape is on for the Saints. Nunes able to take it out wide. And this is Blake. Had time to assess and try and angle the kick to the advantage side of Nick Rewald. Well done from Markovic with the spoil. Gilbert came through and just had nowhere to head with it. Jones' instinctive play was good play too. Montagna trying to organise the traffic. Look who sprinted down into the 50. Brendan Goddard takes the mark.
I know, that all started back in the defensive 50, and you called it well. I was talking about Boyd going to Lenny Hayes. So Goddard comes in, and he gives Lenny Hayes a bit of breathing space, which allows Hayes to actually win the clearance from the stoppage. And then after that, he takes off and goes forward, and the ball comes down the other side. He's in space. Good vision from Montagna. It should be a goal.
Should be from 35 out. Brendan Goddard, now 26 years of age.
Oh.
186 games under the belt, you would have expected better.
But it is a good look to see exactly how the Saints are thinking. They want to get their better players up into that forward line to try and separate a lot of the Bulldogs' inexperienced players.
So the skipper Boyd has it for the Bulldogs. Up the corridor he goes. Oh, an underground kick wasn't too good for his teammates up ahead. Cross was on the bottom of it, held it in well. did very well, and the umpires let it go, picking over the top, and we'll have a bounce. 45 metres out, directly in front of the St Kilda goal.
He's one of the best midfielders in the game, Matty Boyd. There is just one Achilles heel. At times, he just misses the target by foot.
McAvoy's been good touch. Minson got the tap. Murphy overran it. McAvoy did his own work. Back to Jones. The left foot kick up to the goal square. Oh, Lake, great play. Great to see Lake back in form after having a horror year last year with multiple surgeries, and he's been back in good form at the moment.
Jack Stephen picking up Kearney. You'd expect Kearney to try and take him forward and get a drop off there.
Yeah, that's a good mark.
Good solid stuff from Markovic. The coach having faith with him despite the fact that Kennedy touched him up first week, but he gives it straight back into Revolt, who tries to work his way onto it. Got some help at the last moment from Goddard, and the Saints looking good. Gilbert, well, he's not always known for his kicking, but there we go again. It's a behind. It was a tough one, but they've had a couple of opportunities.
It's a good matchup, Milne on Murphy, because Milne is so dangerous. He's making Murphy really defend and not being able to drop off and intercept.
So Murphy having to kick to a one-on-one. Roughhead did well to bring it to ground. Up to the wing it goes. Dalhaas, who's got plenty of speed. One bounce, twisting and turning. Did it well. Then kicked up the line, looking for Cordy. Ned nudged his opponent under the ball there, and good play. Good play all round.
Great to see
Cordy will come in.
Sorry, Ed. Great to see Cordy out there. But, Jared, what about conversely then? Does it make Milne have to worry about the damage that Murphy can do?
Well, that is the, I guess, the flip side of the coin, and that will depend a lot on how well the ball comes in.
Nice defensive punch from Simpkin. Hayes, as always, hard at it. It's picked up, though, and kicked forward for the Bulldogs there by Markovic, I think it was. In goes a good play there. And picked up by Clay Smith. Gets it back to G in Syracuse. Hard at it, maybe grabbed without the ball. Umpire called play on. In goes Clay Smith again. In goes Cordy trying to kick it off the ground. Higgins was in there as well. They all dive in. And guys, get used to this tonight because they've been training all summer, the Western Bulldogs, doing 4-on-4, 3-on-3 combat work around the ball. That's what McCartney wants from his team.
And the Saints know it, and we know they're pretty good at that sort of stuff too. They earn themselves a free for a little bit of holding on. So Gilbert doing it at both ends of the ground at this stage. Prepared to share it with Geary, who's made a good start to the season for St Kilda. Isn't it great to see this man back? The number 7, Lenny Hayes.
And Peckin is following Del Santo all the way, Kingy.
Yeah, he's in for a bit of a horror night, I would say, Nicky Dell. But I'm just fascinated by Sam Gilbert. I think the move of Sam into the midfield has been a masterstroke from Scotty Waters. He looks like he's really enjoying the role at the moment. Started
on the wing on cross, but doesn't like him in at the stoppages clearly, or the centre clearances. But he's doing a pretty good job. Also defensive sweeping.
Here's Malira. Getting back to Del Santo, had just 14 touches in the same game last year against the Dogs. Pickin did it then, and so he's out to do it again. As they switch up with Goddard, just a little bit of a stumble and hesitation about the work back there for the Saints. Clearing kick came from Simpkin, who played last week after a couple of games last year. Into trouble and then back out and then into it again. The thick of it, Big Will. Goddard comes in, tries to use physicality, but he can't forge a path. And what's the umpire? He's in trouble here. Gone.
It took him on. Half a don't argue in there as well. So great play. And speaking of Brendan McCartney during the week, boys, he has been so impressed with these guys, Cross and Boyd and Murphy, and the old Dogs prepared to learn new tricks, and he just couldn't be happier with the way they've been.
Yeah, and look, they're terrific examples at a club. They just work hard. That's what they do. They set the perfect example for the younger players.
Dalhouse has been busy and creative, and he is again on the boundary line. Worked it nicely. Montaigne's there to pick up the crumbs, though. The ball comes out to Fisher. Fisher's usually a good kick, no exception this time. Goddard on defensive 50.
Cross trying to follow him.
Not much on, so he's going to go up the line. Good kick. Out comes the big man there. And taking Stanley it was, who's had a good year so far this year. Up it goes to the forward 50. In goes Kazitsky. Kazitsky waits for the ball. Lake gets underneath him and does it beautiful.
He did that well, Brian Lake, because he was caught 20 metres underneath Justin Kazitsky. He called the long kick. He just engaged the body contact without giving away a free kick.
Rewalt waiting back in the square. Now pushing up towards the 50.
Well, you see Rewalt in the square, or we can see him in the square. He has done off camera 150-metre sprint to the back line and 150-metre sprint back to the goal square.
He's working his way back in there, but Kazitsky is the target. There he is. He came and he almost conquered. Polo might help out. He does. There's the opening goal.
I mean, you just do not see that at times on the TV. The amount of work that Riewoldt does off the ball, unrewarded, is incredible. That's why he is blowing. And Polo's come off the bench and fortuitously got into the right spot, and it opened up for him. Pretty ordinary defence in the finish there by the ground players, by the Western Bulldogs. They should have just about been able to get a smother on that one. Smothers going over the top of the ball by experienced players is just not stuff that Brendan McCartney would be happy with.
Brendan Goddard off for a spell. I mentioned Daniel Cross following him. He's come off for a spell as well, but he's going to need to tighten up. Goddard leads the way with 7 possessions already in the first term.
So Saints with the opening goal.
Push Lenny Hayes! Lenny Hayes, free kick.
And they'll go forward again through Hayes. They hold their positions, and now the break comes. Couple of leads. Smart one from Stanley. It is quite wide. You can see he's already put a fair gap on Hargrave. Gets some help. Geary with a hurried kick into the 50. Now Milne versus Murphy. We're going to enjoy watching this one tonight. Good charging work again, Geary getting involved. Here's Malia, has already shown he can kick a goal in the first couple of weeks. Gave this one up, though, to Liberatore.
Oh, dangerous.
Good pressure from Geary again, circling. Boyd, fanciful handball, chopped off by Riewoldt initially, and then Hayes, the big names getting involved for the Saints, but they haven't quite hit the scoreboard quite in the way they would like, but they certainly have all the score. They're 9, and the Dogs yet to worry the scorers at this stage. And we've already travelled 10 minutes in the opening term, so some concerns for the Bulldogs at this stage.
Cooney's now running with Del Santo, but at these kick-ins, Del Santo's whipped away trying to play a defensive role, which allows Cooney to be free.
Mooney to Lake. The high flyer there was Markovic. Off hands. Nice play. Griffin gets it off to Cooney. Beautiful kick. All right, what can they do from here with Roughhead? Bombs it long. Beautiful kick. Great transfer of play. Coast-to-coast goal coming up if they can put it through from here. And Jones is the man. Liam Jones has kicked 28 goals, 16 in his career so far. Let's see what he can do.
And you're going to have to expect a lot of this tonight too. They'll try and catch St Kilda on the rebound, on the fast break. They'll endeavour to get numbers back, to clog it up around Riewoldt at half forward for the Saints, and then run hard the other way.
It just goes to show how dangerous it is allowing Cooney free rein, even if you are trying to cover some space.
Jones from 20, directly in front, puts it through. Bulldogs on the board. Great play by the Western Bulldogs. All set up from the last line of defence. That's the perfect break from fullback.
We were watching Liam Jones have a few set shots down on the ground, Jared, and it's not always the best run-up when he kicks. And I'll tell you what he did do. He got perilously close to the man on the mark. He saw a terrific hand pass in mid-air from Matty Boyd, which ends up releasing Cooney, and then a couple of long kicks to loose players.
You also saw Del Santo on screen. He really was just cruising along. And as soon as he knows he's not going to be in the play, I reckon his coach would want him to get tight and right in the shadow of Cooney, because the Bulldogs had the ball. But you're right, Jason. I'll be interested in your analysis of Liam Jones's kicking. He seems to have a bit of a shift in the hips just prior to release, and strides out, extending himself, unbalanced in many ways.
So Dogs will feel a bit better with that goal, but they've lost it out of the middle. Malera, Del Santo, Montagna. Good little smother, took something off it from Gian Siracusa. Here's Kazitsky and Lake. He stumbled his way through Brian Lake and just got the handball, tried to gain some territory. Montagna and Dempster collaborate. You can hear the call of Tunts, and Armitage was quick to wheel onto his left and put it to good position for McAvoy to use the height and take the mark. And Kazitsky clapping right in Markovic's face then. Maybe just slightly off camera, but he gave him plenty.
Well, a lot of that goes on out there. Jared, you said you wanted a big game from the big boy. If he can push forward and add this string to his bow, he becomes a much more influential big man.
Well, I think they look as if they want to take Markovic to the square.
McAvoy threads it, and the Saints answer immediately and restore their 9-point lead.
Well, he's just a really good contested mark above his head, McAvoy. Not all of the Saints players do it all that often, the talls. And yet McAvoy has got great capacity to go forward. Disappointed here, I reckon. Ryan Hargrave, poor. That was really average checking from an experienced player. And then a great bustle, held his ground, just kept the hands out of his back and took a big one.
Just play devil's advocate for Ryan Hargrave. The ball was touched off the boot, which is why Armitage played on straight away. I don't know if he heard that call. I don't know if he just expected Armitage to go back behind the mark and he didn't want to creep over and give away 50.
Well, that'd be the excuse
We're
I'd be
being
running
kind.
on Monday morning.
Saints by 9 points, 16 contested possessions each, but 5 scoring shots to 1 is the more accurate reflection on the style of the game at the moment. The mark taken there for the Saints by Fisher.
I guess what that reflects also, Ed, is St Kilda have used the ball 71% efficiency compared to 50 for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I reckon the Bulldogs have got to be careful. We just saw Adam Cooney throw a quick ball on the boot. There's a fantastic smother from Dalhousie. That is brilliant.
Great play. Polo just held it up too long.
When they do win the clearances, the Bulldogs, they've got to try and make it clean and clear. Chain of hand passes, get away from the contest and then deliver the footy. That quick kick forward, particularly when you've got a number behind the ball, is normally going to go to superior numbers for the opposition.
Goddard's pushed into the forward 50 and Cross is now running with him.
Rufford and Stanley, Gene Syracusa and Lenny Hayes, and we'll have another throw in.
They just can't let Goddard play on his own terms. They must make him go one-on-one, and there he is, Cross. It's a pretty tough call for Cross as well because Goddard's so good above his head.
Stanley gets the front spot. Roughhead come over the top. It was good. Griffin. Then it goes. Grant. Grabbed off the ball. Montagna for St Kilda. Brushed away his tackler. Then the left foot kick forward. Milne was there. In goes Rewalt. The old stage is up at full forward for the Saints. Good play there by the Bulldogs though. Comes out to Higgins. Now they can build something here. Dangerous play up the corridor. Needed a good mark. And they got it too. Great play by Addison.
Gee, it was a risky kick from Cross, but Addison made it look good.
Not normally his forte either, the risky kick.
And back into the corridor.
Easton Wood kicks up to the wing. Contest here, left, right and centre, and we'll have a throw in. Dead on centre wing in front of the interchange gates.
Ed, we saw right through the pre-season the Bulldogs just chip that ball around at half-back and soak up some time and force the game to be played at their speed. They don't seem to be doing that as much in the season proper, and they had the perfect opportunity just then and didn't take it.
Smith tries to charge through and succeeds. Fisher got the cruel bounce. Hard hit from Jones. Did well to release the handball. And Grant, was there a free paid? No, I don't think there was. Just waved on. And through for a behind.
Should have done a lot better, Jared Grant. He had plenty of time to size up the angle, and he missed that by a long way. You can see Sam Fisher, the ball just bounced over his head. It's a good tackle from Jason Blake, but St Kilda have got what they want. They've got Sam Fisher loose in defence.
Might have been stiff not to get the free kick for the
Dump.
follow-on dump.
Jump too early. Advantage.
Jump too early, advantage, so Griffin gets the ball, takes it out wide. Now a chance for Gene Syracusa. Will chip into the forward 50 is a good one. And Abraham Lincoln, Jared Grant has got it outside 50, and the kick is a shot.
A horrendous kick. His last 2 kicks, disgraceful, Jared Grant, and that is not going to help the Bulldogs' course.
So McAvoy, can they circle them here and squeeze them up to their own medicine back? You know, Fisher's a good man to have it. And Armitage, hasn't he grown in confidence? And he grew in height there as he leapt over the pack to take a very good mark.
Across the mark.
50
And
metres.
50.
Somebody ran across the mark, the umpire said. Let's have a look who it is.
Yeah.
There's a good mark there.
I think it was...
Cross, is it? He's trying to follow Goddard, perhaps.
unless it was Easton Wood, but I think they might have been a bit stiff, the Bulldogs there.
I don't know who that was.
We'll come back to that because the ball's at full forward, almost in Revolt's hands, but not quite. Hargrave and Roughhead.
Nowhere to go.
And the skipper. And he's kicked it straight to Geary in the end. That is an odd choice. We know the pressure was building, but maybe he could have at least scrapped it along the ground or something to make it a bit more difficult.
You've got to kick it to at least the team.
Yeah, kick it the other side.
So Geary just lobs it. It's a wobbly one. It's going to score, as you can see. It's a behind.
Gets a good spray from Brendan Goddard as well for not kicking it to the right spot.
Well, it's a great fly by David Armitage, who I reckon he had the win put up in by the coach after round one. He really struggled, but he was fantastic last week.
Murphy picking, they find a bit of trouble here. The Bulldogs can't get it out of the defensive 50. The Saints said before the game they're going to try and squeeze the life out of them, and they've been able to do so far. Grant's going to have to get it out, and he does. Now a chance for Addison. Handballs on. Cooney has to go hard and does. Great play there. Cross dives in on top of it. Griffin over the top. In go the Saints as well. Armitage the last man in. They get the bounce, and they keep it in their forward half of the ground.
It's okay to press right up, and they've done it pretty well, St Kilda, but we did see the Bulldogs kick a goal from getting outside of that press up and then having plenty of space, and a clean hand pass then they were away again.
They were one handball off, weren't
Yep.
they?
Cross got one in the back, but the umpire said it's the other way. Montagna.
He didn't even know it was his free kick, Nick Del Santo.
Del Santo, I think, might have been held by Picken. So Del Santo gets one. Bit of a touch lotto win, that one. Transfers play.
Goddard looking dangerous again. He's on Addison. And Addison is giving him that 4 or 5 metres, just enough for him to jump on his shoulders.
Take a hanger.
Nunes picked 37 in the draft from last season. He's already had 3 disposals. Inside 50 with a high bomb, up it goes. Stanley did well. Rewald picked it up, gets it out to Hayes. Too high, no, says the umpire. Good call too. Armitage is gone here, held the ball up.
He did the old throw the head back, Ed, looking for that high contact.
And the umpire had the same view as we had, and it didn't look like it from our view, but you can see there's a bit of an arm across the shoulder initially.
I reckon Chris Cameron's the umpire, got that one right. We'll give him a tick for that one, Hutto.
Well, Boyd goes out to the wing to see Blake had the run, and he took the mark. Getting attacking and dashing. Now he's past the 200-game mark, Jason Blake. Back to Jack Stephen in the middle. Can wheel all the way around to Goddard. Now, let's see. McAvoy's deep at full forward. He goes shorter, as you can see, to Revolt. Markovic did just enough. Addison comes to lend a hand. And Tagner takes it out.
Saints have had 7 of the last 10 inside 50s, but haven't been able to capitalise, Jace.
No, they've wasted a few opportunities. I mean, they've kicked 2 goals for. Probably should be the other way round.
They are looking dangerous, though, in the air. Just at the moment, it looks as if Rewald is about to explode with a couple of contested marks.
Just get you to discuss their forward line, Jared, some further if we get a ball up here. Just wait. They've certainly loaded it up. Oh, look at this. Liberatore underneath there. It still might come out. The umpire's certainly patient. The crowd has to be. Del Santo, Revolt, gave to Fisher. Grant was onto him. Dalhas, but it's just impossible to get clean possession in there. That's the only way to get it.
Well, they have got some marking power up forward, the Saints, but to combat that, the Bulldogs, Easton Wood is the drop-off player. He's virtually playing loose in defence.
But the one who looks the most dangerous is big boy McAvoy when he goes down there. He is sitting in the goal square at the moment with Easton Woods trying to, I guess, pray that the ball doesn't come in for a one-on-one.
So Dalhas has been busy. Not only is a crumbing forward, but he's smothered. He's got in under the pack. He's done very well. Oh. So too did Big Will Minson. Great mark. Now they have to go. Away they go this time. Griffin, long bomb up towards full forward. Over the head of Jones. Can he beat him at ground level? Taps it towards the goal. It's running his way. Can he get a boot to it? He does. Then he fell over. Then he has another go. And he's dragged to the ground. Umpire says, dropping the ball. Ball comes out. Good play by Clay Smith. Hard on the boundary line. He has a left foot step. Umpire says out of bounds.
He was out. They're the opportunities that the Bulldogs have to capitalise on. He gets a one-on-one there, Liam Jones, and he's just unable to do something.
He thought he was right here, didn't he?
He did. But he was probably in the right position to actually mark the ball when it came in, and he misjudged it.
Tell you what, though, you love his endeavour and his spirit.
So thrown in the Bulldogs' forward pocket. A rare foray in the last 10 minutes into their forward 50. Umpires picked one out. It's going to the Saints.
This is where they spread well, the Saints.
Del Santo, Malira got the free kick. Fisher has plenty of time to get on the right boot, kick it out to the defensive, past defensive 50, but over the top comes the ever-reliable Robert Murphy, punched over line, out of bounds, throw in.
Hasn't he started well on Milne?
Yeah, Milne just one disposal so far.
Well, the forward line is now set up totally different to the way Stephen Milne has played most of his career, where he has been often the go-to player on the lead. Now he's actually being forced to be a crumbing forward.
Here's Malira, did well with Jack Stephen, and hasn't he become a player? Del Santo held without it. Vantage, paid and taken. Jones, Montagna, no one in the 50. He can take it all the way himself with 3 confronted. Tries to set it up to the advantage again. Was he manhandled? No. Stanley and Addison did well, at least according to the umpire, but help from Lake and Picken.
Well, they didn't think that one through, Lee Montagna, because the Bulldogs, both defenders laid off and went to the goal square, and Kazitsky was just sitting there waiting for the 25-metre kick.
Just get a little bit concerned with the Bulldogs when they try to bring the ball out of defence. There's too many players that lead up for that short little 15-metre kick that really doesn't help them clear the defensive area.
Minson couldn't take it, and Malira was ready to pounce. Let's have a look, see whether it may have been a free to Stanley.
Puts both arms around him.
It's often paid, isn't it?
Yep.
If he had been able to maintain his feet, he might have earned the free, but the umpire went a little conservative.
Yeah, a bit unlucky at the Saints there. There's a chance, though. Del Santo breaks away rarely from the clutches of Picken and hits the post.
5 disposals for Nick Del Santo so far.
To be more efficient with their use of the footy, the Bulldogs out of defence. They're hanging by a thread at the moment, 12-7 the inside 50s.
So they go to Murphy to bring the ball back into play. He does so. Liberatore.
Again, not a lot of movement ahead. That's a good kick.
That's a good kick and nice play by Higgins. He just sort of hid there for a while, then presented just at the right moment, caught his eye. Out of side, Minson, half-back inside the Dullhouse. Trying to spread a little bit more now, the Bulldogs. Higgins, usually a good kick, decides to go long, sets it up. Gives a task there for Picken, who hits the pack pretty hard. Dives in underneath it. Grant knocks it forward, but the Saints have got the numbers again. It comes out to Hayes. Little chip kick. Is close to the boundary line. Good defensive play, but nicely done. Picked up by Eastonwood. He's dragged off the ball. Polo did well. Eastonwood did get the foot on it.
He did everything right, Eastonwood. He had good. He used his body beautifully.
No, he hasn't.
But then he had no awareness that there was another player coming to tackle him when he needed just to get the quick hand pass away.
Yeah, the handball was the one.
I thought he did get some.
You're going to stop on it, didn't
you? Nearly. Dempster comes away. Dangerous kick. Clay Smith, young man, good head on his shoulders. Gave it to Dalhouse. Just needs to goal here. And doesn't. Haven't they burnt some opportunities?
Jason, the drop. Tell me about that ball drop.
Oh, look, it virtually came off the inside of the ankle. He kicks a goal there, and you sit there and say, that is an ordinary kick from Dempster. But if he kicks that goal and they're only a couple of points down, you say, boy, how good's the first quarter for the Bulldogs, given they've been smashed around the ground.
That's the negative, but the forward pressure from the Dogs looks pretty well up to speed.
And Jared, the old three-card trick there. Straighten up and put it through.
Absolutely. Don't worry about bouncing it.
And he's got plenty of pace to actually run when he gets the ball.
So a bit of inferred pressure there maybe on Dullhouse, but still should have kicked the goal. And as Jason said, had they got that, it would have been a 3-point ball game with 2.5 on the clock.
And
you take that as almost a win for the Bulldogs. Here comes Fisher now. Big kick out to Nick Riewoldt, out on his own. The St Kilda skipper, the superstar of the team. The ball sits nicely for him. He picks it up. He looks inside. Stanley's his man. The kick is an absolute beauty. Stanley put up 1 mid. He needed 2.
Well, that was the only mistake. That was A-grade stoppage work from St Kilda down here. It was a nice tap from McAvoy. And then a couple of really good inside handballs which set them free.
It was interesting. The kick from Fisher to space. He had 10 metres on the lead. Riewoldt.
Minson, dangerous tap. Maybe he knew what he was doing. Higgins in there. Plenty of bodies being thrust.
Let's take a look at this stoppage. You'll see the tap comes down. Great hands from Goddard inside the Del Santo and releases Fisher, one of the best distributors in the game.
Well, that's the class edge the Saints have, isn't it? And if they can continue to get their hands on the ball, it's going to be hard to see the Dogs win. And here it is again with Hayes, and he works it out to Del Santo. Standing start, got the angles right, and the Saints get some reward for that one.
Well, that's effectively the 2-goal turnaround after Dullhouse misses at one end, and then they make something out of nothing at the other. And you can see Brendan McCartney getting ready to head down onto the ground. I reckon he would have been satisfied if this goal hadn't been kicked, because they've been outplayed in the first term and there's no damage on the scoreboard. But you wonder how a talented player like Nick Del Santo can just stand out there on his own off a stoppage waiting for the hand pass out.
Picken got caught between the devil and the deep blue sea there. He went for the man, went for the smother, instead of pushing back onto him. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't in that situation.
Well, you can only go if you're going to impact, Ed.
Yeah.
If you don't impact, it's a poor decision.
But the player behind him, Ed, as well, should have pushed up on Del Santo, because he had to go Picken, so he needed some support from behind.
Pretty average bounce from the umpire. Minson helps himself with a big thump.
Throw.
That could have been Jones. Heads it straight out towards the boundary line with the kick. And he knew he had teammates there. Heard the voice of Armitage, who's happy to run and share around. And Hayes and Stephen striding out. Jen Syracusa as he just decided to zigzag back inboard to Jones. A calculated move just to hold things up a little. Armitage, until Riewoldt was ready, and he had Markovic where he wanted him. He takes the grab. You look at the top of the disposal list for St Kilda. Hayes, Goddard, Fisher, Montagna, Del Santo. And then you have Nick Riewoldt, who's had 4 disposals and coming in for his 5th. So the big names are firing. If that's going to be the case all night, it's going to be hard yards for the Bulldogs.
Great contested mark. I'd really, really like to see Brian Lake playing on Nick Riewoldt.
4 goals, 2 last week for Nick. 6 goals for the season so far.
Geez, he'd only last 10 minutes.
And look at that kick from Nick Riewoldt. That will warm plenty of St Kilda hearts. all of a sudden, it's a big gap. 21 points in what has been a pretty dour struggle up until the last couple of minutes.
Well, they're just winning it everywhere. Inside 50s, they're winning it, and their better players are really going great guns at the present time. You mentioned Stephen Milne. Yes, he's not getting the footy, but he doesn't have to. Robert Murphy's only had one kick, and they're not getting the advantage of his creative stuff off the half-back line.
So would you reconsider that already if you were Brendan McCartney? Do you think they need something to have some more creation from back there?
Well, they've got to get the ball, and I haven't seen Milne lay a tackle on Murphy, but just at the present time, you try and set Murphy free, but not sure it's easier on paper than it is out in the ground.
Saints have kicked 2 goals, 3 from turnovers in the forward line. They've outscored their opposition this year by 51 points on turnovers. So they're playing well. They're squeezing them as they said they would. Scott Waters' pre-game plan. Cooney, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 St Kilda players around him, Cooney, when he grabbed the ball there. They are playing exactly to the coach's instructions.
This is the problem here, Ed. 6 of the last 8 clearances the Saints have won. Then their class comes into the game. The Dogs just need to start winning more ball around the stoppages.
Stanley, Armitage, Cordy, Cooney for the Bulldogs. Cooney tries to get it out, holds it up. We'll have another bounce.
Yeah, clearance is 13-8 in favour of St Kilda. Contested possession, 37 apiece.
So 14 seconds. Time here for the Bulldogs. Third man up was Roughhead. Montagna just wants to clear the 50. Good enough. That should be good enough to go in with a lead of 21 points. With a throw in with 5 seconds on the clock.
I think in answer to your question, Hutto, you've got Easton Wood as a spare player for the Western Bulldogs in defence. You'd like to be able to free up Murphy and have him play that role, but unfortunately Easton Wood I don't think would be able to go with Milne.
Well, speak of the devil, that was Easton Wood. The quarter ends with St Kilda getting some reward for their dominance. They went inside 50 4 more times and produced 4 goals, 5-29. The Western Bulldogs 1-2-8 with plenty of work to do. We know this is a big, big game for both sides, and we'll find out what the Dogs can do about it right after this. Addition for McAvoy to use the height and take the mark. Here it is again with Hayes. He works it out to Del Santo. Standing start, got the angles right, and the Saints get some reward for that one. Armitage until Rewalt was ready, and he had Markovic where he wanted him. He takes the grab. And look at that kick from Nick Rewalt. That will warm plenty of St Kilda hearts.
So a quarter time at Etihad Stadium, the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. Bulldogs 1-2-8, the Saints 4-5-29. They lead by 21 points, 9 scoring shots to 3, and that's about an accurate reflection of the inside 50s and the tail of the game so far. As we welcome the panel here tonight at Etihad Stadium. Boys, Jared and Jason, do you want to change your tip?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'd love to.
I'll tell you, Jared, the first thing I'd like to see is the Bulldogs have got to get one of their forwards to go to Sam Fisher. You cannot allow Sam Fisher to be the spare. He's had 9 possessions. He's kicking at 86% efficiency. He's set up all the forward thrusts. One of the forwards has got to go over and make a 2-on-1 or let his man be the loose instead of Sam Fisher.
And vice versa. I think they've got to roll the dice and try and free up Murphy. But right now, some of their very better players haven't got near the footy. Gene Zeracusa, just 1 kick, 1 handball. Adam Cooney, they can't afford to have Adam Cooney have 2 kicks, 2 possessions only in a quarter. So a couple of individuals need to lift for the Western Bulldogs.
So, Jared, going into this game, Scotty Waters, as you've said, one of the key things he was desperate to do was engage Murphy and Lake to make sure that they couldn't be the go-to people, that they couldn't be the guys who are the outlets for them, and they've done that very well.
I think they have. I think their philosophy in loading up the forward line with Brendan Goddard initially appears to have paid off great dividends at this stage. They've got so many top-end class players that if they get off the chain, then they're going to be hard to beat. And right now, Scott Waters has got the game exactly where he wants it. The Bulldogs are also their own worst enemy going inside forward 50. They've butchered just a couple of easy opportunities that would have just given a little bit of confidence to the young forward team.
David King's down there with Scotty Waters.
Scotty, a fantastic quarter, mate, to complete dominance there towards the end. What have you said to the troops to ensure that keeps going in the second quarter?
But we just reinforced a couple of our targets pre-game. We want to put them under pressure. Their uncontested ball in the first 2 weeks has been very high. So we're on target to this point on that. We want to apply as much pressure as we can to their kicking skills. They're a high kicking side. They get a lot of uncontested ball in the back half. So we want to pressure that.
What's concerned you the most in the coach's box from what the Bulldogs are doing?
Again, you just don't want to allow them space through the corridor. A couple of times they got through on a kick in, making sure we apply pressure on as they're chaining out. We need to cover the corridor on them. If we do that, the rest of the quarter's been pretty good.
Good luck.
Thanks, mate.
Good on you, David King. Thanks to Scott Waters for making himself available, the St Kilda coach. Break even at the contested ball. They did that, boys, and win the stoppages, win the game. That's St Kilda's game plan tonight. Of course, you'll hear everything that's been going on over the weekend, right throughout the week. Monday to Thursday, AFL 360. Jared and Robbo, 7:30 EST. And on the couch on Monday night, Chris Judd. Well, he was magnificent last night in leading the Blues to a 10-goal victory over the Magpies. He'll be joining the three gentlemen of football. Jared, looking forward to your interview with Chris Judd tomorrow night.
Yeah, he's always good, and I think at this stage, Ed, he'd be a hell of a lot better than if the scores had been reversed last night.
I would have enjoyed it a lot more, though.
You would have.
Yeah. Anyway, you'll enjoy it instead. And we're enjoying this game because the Saints are 29, Bulldogs are 8, and the Bullies need to really get a skate on.
Yes, we're looking for a response from the Bulldogs here. Cooney will be one man who will need to lead the way, along with the likes of Boyd and Jan Siracusa. Here's Minson, who's
gone.
Yeah, well, he's got it away eventually. Griffin, and they've got to half forward, so that's a start.
Kick. That is an amazing kick from Ryan Griffin, breaking a tackle across the body, a low dart.
Minson's pushed forward to give them some extra height down there. Cordy's already there. Minson coming up to meet it, and he's completely misjudged it. He reckons he got a bit of a shove from Fisher.
How good has Sam Fisher started the season?
Yeah, he's in slashing form, isn't he? 25 disposals last week after 19 the first, and already tonight 10 disposals. Nunes, one of the young Saints. Couple playing tonight, plus Cripps as the sub. And here's one of the other ones, Tom Simpkin. Nice little nudge out there from. Yeah, he saw it. He saw it. Just a gentle hands in the back.
There was virtually no contact.
It was just there, Jason.
Oh. I hate that. Yeah. I really hate that.
Think of all the goals you wouldn't have got.
Oh, he'd run under the ball anyway. I mean, he didn't need to touch him. That's the point, I guess. But.
And then the ones you would have got from the full-back, putting his hands in the back.
Good mark. Nice grab from Cozzy. Geez, they look dangerous up there at the present times. Goddard now is at full forward and Cross is at full back, and I know it back.
Cozzy kicks it long, and Goddard thought he was ready to escape. Let's have another look at it.
Gives one to Cross. Let's have a look at this. Just a little touch, isn't it? That's the letter of the law. Yep.
Okay, throw in. The Bulldogs fans getting into Goddard there, appealing for the free kick. I think it was something along the lines of, I think you've got your share so far in this passage.
Well, again, Sam Fisher's a spare player. And Jared Grant, he's trying to move over to him to be within striking distance, but 8 metres is too far.
Plenty of action happening off the ball at the moment. Easton Wood tracking really hard on Lenny Hayes. We'll have another ball up the third in a matter of moments.
They've got to dig in. I mean, they've got to be really desperate right now, the Bulldogs. They can't afford to let St Kilda kick the first goal of this second term. Just opens up too much breathing space.
So McAvoy and Minson. Revolt the third man up. Again, you can throw a blanket over 15 players. And we'll have another bounce fourth in a matter of minutes.
With the problems the Bulldogs are having at gaining clearances at the moment, Jared, do you think that they need to reassess the Cross versus Goddard matchup? They just need to get Cross in where the action is at the contested situation.
That's a really good point, Kingy. At the moment, Cross has had 2 possessions and Goddard looks really dangerous. Right now, tactically, they've got the game where they want it, the Saints.
McAvoy tried to get the kicker, went up and down into one spot. Jones does well. Milne tight on the boundary line. Kicks it to the hot spot. Kaczynski pushed underneath it. Stanley, 1, 2, 3, grabs, got it. Good mark in the end. They were coming left, right and centre. Stanley kept his eye on the ball. And a beautiful squaring kick from Milne. And the Saints at the first shot of goal in the second quarter. A big kick coming up.
He's 15 metres out and he's gone back 48 metres.
But this is the fantastic setup that they've got. Stephen Milne doesn't have to think at all. He just has to put it up in the air at the top of the square, knowing that his players, to a man, are taller than the Bulldogs.
Reece Stanley comes in. He's kicked 8 goals, 4 in his career. And Jason, he could have thrown it through from where the mark was.
He had the long run up, and then he just leant right back at the point of impact.
He created an angle that didn't need to be there too, didn't he? Lake for Addison. Go to Jones, but he was somewhere in betwixt and between. Blake takes the intercept.
Well, they're shooting themselves in the foot with their use of the footy at the moment, the Bulldogs.
Oh, Blake thrust his head back after he kicked it. He'll hand it
but
back.
That's the very point we're making.
Could be a bad ball.
You've got to do something to make Blake or one of the other players the spare man for St Kilda and not Sam Fisher, because he doesn't do that with the footy. Sam Fisher hits targets.
Was that you that said that, Jerry? Bad ball.
I did then.
Blake agrees. Kick goes to half forward. Del Santo, Dalhouse, got it away. Cordy gets involved. That, I think, is his first touch. First possession anyway.
Oh, don't ping him.
Don't guess.
He's going see that he did guess, because he was trying legitimately to hand pass, but it was on the blind side of the umpire, and that's just a poor decision.
So it's Goddard's footy.
He had no prior opportunity and then no chance.
His 10th disposal. Takes them up towards Revo. You see Markovic, close, borderline, giving away the free kick with the attention he gave him. Roughhead.
He's the bloke that needs to lift for the Bulldogs.
And he was able to indulge in a bounce along the wing. They're just trying to get the handball going. Instead, trying to kickstart themselves, if you like, by hand, with plenty of sharing of the footy. Tough one to Clay Smith to try and take, but he's happy to get involved with a big tackle. Just needs something, the Bulldogs. Look at Smith, he's taken on 4 of them. And it's a ball up the result.
Just accidental clip in the legs. That's all it was. Accidental clip in the legs. Thank you.
Yeah, the umpires there, a little accidental clip of the legs for the trip. Umpire Steve McBurney, one of the veterans of the umpiring scene. Up it goes Minson, beautiful tap. Liberatore got 2 kicks off that one. Ricocheted off his foot.
Bulldogs free kick, high contact. Bulldogs free kick. Bulldogs free kick.
There we go. Well, all the umpires are getting involved at the moment.
He's pointing the wrong way. It's a Bulldogs kick.
And everyone else has started to run the other way, so you've got an open 50 at the moment.
It's for high contact to Minson. We'll come back and have a look at that in a moment. So Minson kicks inside 50, right to the hot spot. He had all day to kick it. In the end, Fisher drops the mark. Picked up by Blake, gets it out. Gilbert. Handball out to Montagna. Good play. Geary's kick was smothered. Chance now for Easton Wood. He's fumbled a bit tonight. He gets the handball over his head to no one in particular. Montagna does well. Out it comes now to Fisher again. Little flick of a handball to Gilbert, who taps it over the top to Montagna. Everyone's getting a touch and it's not going anywhere at the moment. Well, it's nearly throwing a ball, isn't it? He just controlled it enough, I reckon, Dempster. Now the handball comes out. Malira kicks it along the ground, into the centre of the ground. The race is on. Little toe poke. Gets 5 metres on Cooney. Did it beautifully. Did not panic. Now he kicks with the outside of the boot. He did panic. He ran out of gas in the end, I reckon. And Murphy picks it up on the half-back flank and kicks inside and finds his teammate in cross.
Again, it was a fine line cross, just taking it. Disorientated for a moment. Uses Murphy again. They've got a little bit of overlap about them, but the Saints have been able to push back and cover the bases. So hence the retreat back to Cooney, and he just lobs it up. Cordy won't get there, and the man in front is Gilbert, outpointing Higgins. And now the run comes from behind. And streaming out of defence, it's in dangerous hands. Montagna to Milne, looks up. Cozzy working back to the goal square.
Oops.
Oh, he's just misjudged the kick, and big opportunity here for Markovic to go for an old-fashioned dash from an old-fashioned defender. And he kicked it like 1-2.
John Beckwith, he found touch.
That's an optimistic way of looking at it. 4-6-30 St Kilda, 1-2-8 the Dogs. Has anything changed in the second quarter?
And what worries me is they continue to allow Sam Fisher to be the loose man, and they do that at their peril, the Bulldogs.
So Blake getting it down. There's Dalhouse, Montagna. He's looked threatening tonight with 13 disposals. And now it's a ball up.
Tell you what was impressive, Malira's pace up against Cooney.
And he kept his feet.
He bettered him.
Well, we're going nearly 8 minutes at Etihad Stadium in perfect conditions under the roof, and we've had 1 point kicked to the Saints.
Well, this stoppage, Milne's pushed up, which has left Murphy. Now looks like Armitage is going to drop back on him to make it a one-on-one.
The umpires will sleep well tonight. That one didn't get up too high. There's been plenty of bounces. Fisher for St Kilda. Montagna, nice little release to Hayes, the old firm, combining beautifully up towards the wing position. Good mark by Lake. And Brian Lake on centre wing. Dalhouse has got away here. That's where he's going.
Dangerous kick.
It's a dangerous kick, but should come off. Dalhouse just gets the handball out to Cooney. Cooney, if he can get control, will close in from 40. Just tackled at the last minute. Still gets the kick away. Up it goes, off hands of Cordy. Picked up by Grant. Chance now for the Western Bulldogs through. Jones dives in on top of him. Did he get one in the back? They're riding him like a horse down there. Umpire said play on. Just
Too high, I think, the tackle.
Too high.
You've stopped. High tackle.
Don't know who it was, but the chase on Cooney was a ripper. Just to put pressure on him. Jack Stevens. He showed good pace over a 10-metre distance just to run him down and put some pressure on.
Back into the goal square with Dempster. You've got the view. He's decided to go out this side because Goddard moved his way into the clear.
And that's the difference between the two sides trying to work the ball through the press. St Kilda kick it and kick it long, whereas the Bulldogs high possess.
Well, they've had more handballs than kicks, the Dogs. As Armitage is off on a fly at a half forward and beautifully judged by Kaczynski. Had the drop and can kick it straight into Roughhead.
There's a Falcon.
Nothing gets you more excited than that, Jason.
That's flushing the head. He's done well to still be standing.
He's got a rough head now.
Stephen Cooney, nice little paddle, made a difference. Picking and put plenty on the footy.
Now,
to
rough
be
head's
down
gone
now.
down. Yeah.
That is just the full brunt of the kick flush into the face.
Do champion know how to do stats on the Falcons? Because I reckon there's been more this year than previous.
There's been a lot.
Cooney's can be exploited right here. He has put in a couple of big efforts, and he's looking for the bench.
Hayes got the break again. Goddard tried to use his body, and it goes over the line out of bounds. Good play by Boyd to take it to the boundary. Throw in. We'll keep an eye on Roughhead because that one did absolutely scone him. Cooney comes for a rest now, Jared.
Yeah, you can just see his tanks nowhere near as large as it would have been in his halcyon year.
Yeah, Jared McCartney saying that that group of players who have been coming back from injury just starting to find a bit of form and getting a little bit of gas in their tank. As Clay Smith gets it out, the kick forward was from cross, but he just slammed it on the boot under pressure, and the turnover is complete.
Well, I reckon St Kilda supporters at home would be just absolutely loving the midfield pressure. It's not allowing any of the forwards in the Bulldogs to get a free run. June Syracuse can't get near it. There's no kicks coming in that are suiting his style of play, and it's all to do with the pressure through the middle.
So this quarter a bit of a stalemate, as Ed mentioned. Hard to find a score at either end of the ground. Nunes.
The difference is the Saints have got time to bring the ball out of defence under no pressure. When the Bulldogs get it in defence, they are just under siege.
This is Dempster.
Too easy.
Step by step. Polo, who was a late inclusion tonight after missing last week with suspension. A former Tiger. 4 seasons at Richmond. Became a regular last year with the Saints. So again, bit by bit. So now the pieces are in place for the Dogs to try and squeeze the Saints. Goddard, we know that he'll trust his skills over a long distance, and he shows it there. Out to Fisher, who's got himself loose yet again. He ran his measure and then some. Goes deep to a one-on-one, Wood, and in the wrestle with Milne. So has Murphy gone off Milne, or was that just in the passage of play? I think it might have just been a switch in the passage of play.
What's pretty evident, Jason, comparing the Saints this year and last, is how wide they're prepared to go around the back. Fisher there, you saw him on the very other side of the ground, and so often we've seen St Kilda use the wings.
Stanley, Hayes, Jones into the square. Umpires pick the free kick out. An advantage play paid at the end. So he should have just let it go, the umpire. There was no need to blow the whistle on that occasion. But Kaczynski got the goal. The Bulldogs fans not happy. And that is exactly what the Bulldogs did not need at this moment. The first goal of the quarter going to St Kilda. Let's have a look at this. Up goes Rewald. Oh, is it in the back, boys?
Well, that was a decision.
Oh, gee, it just seems to be in the context
of the head, maybe.
Yeah, to the head, I think.
Doesn't matter. It fell to the back, and Kaczynski rather would have kicked the goal anyway.
Just having a look at the replay, players still not quite adept with this advantage. Have a look at Rob Murphy here now. He's basically conceded that goal, thinking that the umpire was going to bring the ball back, and in the finish, he could have put an easy smother on it.
So Cozzy gets his first goal of the game. The Saints the first of the quarter after some close enough to 13 minutes of play. And it's 36 plays 8.
Yeah, it's out to 28. It's dangerous times for the Dogs. Stephen and Geary. Thumping kick. Cozzy's got a big run up, but couldn't get right to the footy. And Roughhead takes the mark. Impressive grab it was in defence. And they do spread. Eastonwood, some hesitation. Forced a handball again. It's a common thread. The kick up to the wing. Dalehouse under stress from Nunes. Ducked under it beautifully. He's got Griffin on his inside. He's been closed down by
Push
Dempster.
in the back. Downfield, push.
So he plays the downfield. And Big Will spots a man at centre-half forward. It's Cordy. He's a fair distance out. Oh, he had a man in the forward pocket too. He got for Smith. He's still there. Higgins. Oh, just had to get it over his head. Tries to make up for it. They still might be able to get an opportunity here because Higgins shows a bit of class but showed too much to the opposition and gave it up.
And he needed to give that off, Sean Higgins. He'd done the hard yards. He'd made up the ground to intercept the hand pass, but then tried to do too much. And that's just, he feels he needs to do that, try and get the Bulldogs back into the game, because the ball coming forward for them has been nothing short of deplorable at the moment.
12-7, the Saints lead the tackling as Milne goes to the back pocket to get a kick. He gives it to Kazitsky. Called the play on now. Kazitsky goes up the line looking for Revolt, punched away by Cordy. At the fall of the ball, played by Polo. The handball out, it's Polo here. So Polo gets it out from Geary, out towards the outer side, and a good mark by Dalhouse. Good mark, good strong mark under pressure. Chips. Hargrave. Pickin. Just went to 15.
They kick very short coming out of defence. Because there's basically no long options for them that they have any confidence in.
So Pickin decides to go long. Over the head of the pack, at the back, Fisher just hits it on his own. Plenty of space, time to have a good look.
Hargraves looks like he's been pushed forward, Kingy. He was struggling in defence, had a pretty average start to the game, and looks like the coach has had enough.
Goddard, Del Sando do well. Polo back to Del Sando. Now the Saints are moving up towards Kazitsky over his head, and the mark has been taken there for the Bulldogs by Markovic.
Daniel Jean Syracuse, another one of the key dogs that hasn't been able to get himself into this game. Just 2 disposals so far.
Gee, they cut off the change of direction well, the Saints. They keep outriders on the fat side and they man up well.
So we've seen Jared Grant get right up the ground a little more these days. Finds Robert Murphy, who's just released himself a little since the start and has had 6 disposals now, but you can see that one's just going backwards.
Just looking down the forward end for the Bulldogs, they don't have a hit-up centre-half forward type that really presents hard and demands the football centre-half forward, so therefore it becomes a slow play every time they get the ball.
One-man job from Murphy back there to try and get them forward. There's Cordy hurling it onto the boot. It's a good point, Kingy, and if it hits the ground, they've had all sorts of trouble. Minson had to try and do the roving work, but swept on by the Saints, and the toe there of Stanley to get it in deep. Revolt almost takes the mark. Came down without it in the end. Lake gave it to Markovic. Slow motion stuff, but they're going to get out here. Boyd, can they do something constructive with it? Needs to mark Dalhouse. He can give to Cooney if he wants. He does want. He had to change his mind. Dalhouse, they're still harassing him, but he's able to guide it. Again, the big forwards, and it's tough when it hits the ground. They're in massive trouble. If they don't take the mark, they are history.
Gilbert's kick. Stanley does well. Good play by Hargrave for the Bulldogs. A big booming kick. It's 2-on-1 again though, and the one takes it over. Good play now. Up forward, they've got 2 on the Bulldogs. Here's a scoring chance for them. Surely up goes Jimmy. He's paid the Shepherd.
I'll tell you what the problem was. The kick coming in
too high.
Was so high it brought snow. They had a loose man, and the one man, which was Simpkins, was able to leave his man and go and contest the ball because the kick was so high.
Must have been line ball decision.
Oh, I reckon it was line ball. We'll have a look at it in a moment. You're allowed to go for the ball and hold your ground. Replay coming up in a moment as Stephen's got it. First break in play will show the replay. So Stephen has 2 bounces, runs to defensive 45 and kicks up the wing, but he's going to turn it straight over to Addison. So Addison, Bulldogs need to really get some 50 metres. That's it. That's what you want. Need to get it deep into the 50 is what I was about to say. They've got it. Up by McBurney.
It's about the only way they're going to get a shot on goal, Ed, at the moment.
Just like to see the umpies just ease back a bit. I know there's been a lot of contested ball and they're looking for a free kick, but Addison has got the shot of goal.
You can hear the umpire. You cut the corner and encroached into the protected area.
This will be just the 12th possession for the Bulldogs inside their forward 50.
So Addison for the first goal since the 11-minute mark of the first quarter, and boy, do they need one, and they don't get it. Let's have a look at the Shepherd, guys. All right. Gene Syracuse has got the set, and we probably need a wider angle than that to have a good look at it.
Looked pretty close to me if 5 metres was going to be the governing decision.
This is the 50.
He's trying to cut off the square up, but you've got to go back along that imaginary line that's between the point of the mark and the centre of the goals.
All right, Saints trying to come out, and they do it all again. Stephen, we'll go back to where we started. Addison brings it into Grant. So the Dogs have the footy and all the players in their forward half of the ground.
And they've lifted, I reckon, Hutto, but they just can't find a way forward.
Cordy with the up and under, bit of protection that time. It got through to cross, and now Picken. He was surrounded, but as you said, Jared, they're starting to find the footy and find some targets. And Higgins takes the mark. And if ever a team needs a relatively experienced player to go back and just kick the goal, this is it.
And he's one of their best shots for goal as well.
Well, you mentioned that Gene Syracuse wasn't getting the footy. The ball hasn't been in there with any great purpose. They've had now 12 possessions inside the forward 50 for the whole night, as against the Saints, who are up to 30.
23 disposals and 3 tackles last week. He kicked a couple of behinds. Had a great start to the season last year before injury curtailed that, and it's been the story of his career to some extent. Big moment, as we said, for the Dogs. Started sharply left, it worked its way back, but it was always up against it. Tough night so far for that man, Brendan McCartney.
Low-scoring game. One beauty about low-scoring games, you get 2 or 3 goals in a hurry. For some reason, you can get straight back into it.
Unfortunately for the Bulldogs, 2 set shots from within range, 2 behinds.
Yep. And look how easy it was to kick that out from a behind to a loose player outside the 50-metre arc.
Simpkin didn't quite get onto it. Wood tries to punch it away. Jones in there. Stanley as well over the line. Good tackling by the Western Bulldogs from Roughhead, who's shaken the cobwebs out after popping that forceful ball to the head. Throw in right on the interchange gate, centre wing. So the Doggies have not been able to kick a goal since the 10-minute 50-second mark of the first term. Hayes, hard at it as always. Bulldogs jump on top of him.
They've only had 2 less inside 50s in the match too.
Yeah, but the quality of the ball going inside 50 is there's a stark contrast between the 2 qualities of ball going forward.
Saints kicked the last 4 goals of the game.
Here's Cooney again, and Griffin, the experienced hands of the Bulldogs, starting to get into it. So we know in any sport, but when you've got the ball, you've got to make the most of it. Yep. They need to in this last 4 or 5 minutes. McAvoy in front. There's a
push out.
Yeah.
St. Kilda's in the mark.
Again, the umpire pointed the wrong way. Gee, that can be a very big penalty when that happens.
Rewald.
So it's McAvoy. Finally makes a decision. Goes for territory and goes for the skipper. Rewald came in amongst the... Well, it's hard to find the forest for the trees
cleaned up
there.
Kazitsky, Rewald. Kazitsky down behind play.
I was just going to say, it's been the other way a few times, hasn't it, over the years? Well, the Dogs have made a bit of a meal of that. Again, they had an opportunity. As we see Cozzy starting to shake it off there on the wing. Now, umpire calls for a bounce. We're down to 3.5.
He's going to come off, Cozzy. He's a little bit wobbly.
Watch this.
All got their eyes on the footy. The 2 players going for it. In fact, it was Roughhead.
Roughhead came the other side. Nice sandwich there.
Vincent. Cooney.
Oh, that's got to be kicking in danger.
In the back.
Holding Dalhas.
He's been impressive in this quarter, Dalhas.
He's up to 13 disposals too, so he has, we touched on, he's much more than just a lively little forward, isn't he?
Oh, he can get the footy. No, he's good.
Oh,
that's not
Smith
good.
would like to have that one again. Straight to Goddard, to a dangerous man too. And
once again, he has the wing.
He hasn't connected with the kick, but it's no damage, no real damage done, even though he kicked it behind Simpkins, so it didn't really help anything as far as constructing a good play. Montagna tries to fix that.
Just making them work harder here, Jared. I feel that the Saints, they're controlling the ball here. Some uncontested marks in the half-back flank area. Make the Dogs defend them for longer.
And here's our man again on the wing.
Just strolled off the bench after a spell.
1-1 to 2 behinds for the quarter. 26 between the 2 sides. They just can't, the Dogs, afford the Saints to kick another one, but wouldn't St. Kilda love to get it? And again, the athleticism of Reece Stanley up over the top.
Well, Brian Lake's pleading man in front.
But he didn't actually.
But I don't know if he got an. Well, I think he might have touched it, but I don't think he got enough purchase on the ball. That was a pretty clean pick by Stanley.
It's a great mark. He's been handy, hasn't he?
Well, he's really come on.
I see Brian Lake here on the replay. He's in front, gets his hands on it, but doesn't hold it anywhere near long enough.
So Reece Stanley, a very tough ask here in terms of angle. Kicked 2-1 last week. St. Kilda fans, wouldn't they get excited if this big, tall, athletic ruckman come forward can do things like that. And it could be a game breaker too. Long, long way to go, but in a low-scoring game, that is a really cruel blow to the Bulldogs, but some really sweet stuff to see for St Kilda fans just before half-time.
Well, he very much reflects where St Kilda's at the present time. Lots of upside as a junior player, as a young player. And if Scott Waters is going to make this transition a successful one, he needs guys like Stanley to reach their full potential and do it in a hell of a hurry. And he's made a pretty good start to this season, Stanley, as in a different role to that he's played over the years. And he's doing it also as a chop out for Rewald, which is helping his game. That's a recall.
A recall ball up. Steve McBurney will have another go.
Well, you mentioned Ryan Hargrave going forward, Jared. I think he's supposedly trying to go to Sam Fisher.
Picken grabs it, tries to knock it out. Hayes makes him pay, and we'll have another ball up.
Does that mean you're in the same postcode, or you?
Well, he's going to try and stop him being the loose conduit between defence and attack for the Saints.
Saints by 32 points. You've heard the umpire, McBurney. Throw him out, he says. So Minson gets the free kick just backward of the centre circle. Desperately need a goal here. The short kick was taken away there by desperate play by Lenny Hayes. Magnificent play it was. Now McAvoy goes in. He's grabbed without the ball off the ground. Goes Minson. Good play, Cooney. He was grabbed without it. Polo drops the ball. In goes Hayes. Round the back he goes. Round the back goes Clay Smith. No one can get a grab on the ball. And we'll have another bounce.
He battled hard after the turnover, but big blokes should be banned from kicking short. They shouldn't be allowed to finesse the footy.
Great closing speed by Lenny Hayes. Coming off that knee from last year.
I think that should be a rule of the game.
I don't think it should be brought into the game. Do not allow ruckman to finesse with short kicks.
Higgins, a spare player, just sitting in the hole in defence now for the Bulldogs.
57 seconds. It's a vital minute for the Dogs. They need to scrounge one somehow. The Saints have dropped one back off the contest, and it's Geary playing in front of Jones, who has to wrap him up, and he did it well. Good diligent stuff from Jones.
A little cheap trip there from Montagna on Picken.
Why not?
Just a little ankle tap as he was going by.
Well, let's have a look. There's 32 points the difference and 40 seconds on the clock. You can see the desperation with the Bulldogs. But at the moment, St Kilda just have that edge, well, pretty much everywhere where it counts.
Matty Boyd, 17 possessions, leads all comers on the ground. The most for St Kilda, surprise, surprise. Sam Fisher has 16 possessions.
McAvoy, Liberatore got it out.
Play on, play.
Come on,
everyone stop, my fault.
Well,
Yeah,
at least
call.
he's there.
Well
He's
done.
done well. Done well.
But they need to swallow the whistle for 5 minutes, the umps, and just let the game go.
So Liberatore to full forward. Jones against two. It got all the way through. Oh, Simkin, that could have been a critical error.
Well, once again, you saw Fisher leave his man, Ryan Hargrave, to create the 2-on-1 situation.
So just 3 behinds for the Bulldogs this quarter.
That's where Ryan Hargrave has to put himself in attacking positions. And the Bulldog players have to say, well, if Ryan Hargrave's free, kick it to him.
So
he's
Wood's
Sam
got
Fisher's
it.
man.
He's 2 kicks from home and 11 seconds and counting on the clock. Needs to get it in quickly. Now he does. Kicks it inside. Punched away. One last roll for the Doggies here. No, that'll be it. And the siren gives us half-time. Well, not one for the scrapbook, this one, but it's a mean, hard affair. And Scott Waters will be delighted because that's exactly the way he wanted his team to play. He doesn't care if he gets 100 points for the day, just want 4 points at the end of the match. 6-6-42 St Kilda. They were able to kick 2 goals that quarter. The Bulldogs have not scored since the 11-minute mark of the first term when they went from coast to coast in spectacular fashion. And after that, there hasn't been much to sing about for the Western Bulldogs. 1-5-11, St Kilda 6-6-42 when we return at Etihad Stadium on Fox Footy.
So the halftime break has given both coaches plenty of time to think about what might be ahead. The Saints in tight. They have the game in their grasp. They lead by 31 points. You can see the earnest look on the face of the captain, Nick Rewald. Great tight shots in there. Look at Lenny Hayes and the young fellas as well, listening to every word from the skipper. They lead 6-6 to 1-5. David King's ready for us. So there's some injuries to talk about, Kingy, but also I wonder what the Dogs might be able to do in this third quarter that's different.
Well, one thing they may be able to do is get some inside 50s of quality. Maybe Rob Murphy to centre-half forward. We know he can play there. We know as a senior experienced player he knows how to lead and draw the ball. I think he's a wild card. He's one player they could definitely throw there.
All right, so let's have a look, Jared. Look at the stats on the Bulldogs who need to get a touch. Gene Syracuse had 2. Liberatores had 5. Easton Wood 6 in the back line there. Griffin's had 7. You need more from these guys.
Yeah, Sean Higgins, ball carriers and guys inside 50. If they're going to make a competitive crack at it, they're the ones that have got to get the ball in there. But Jason, you picked up an injury, and Gilbert looks as if he's in a bit of strife.
He's got a back injury. He didn't come out with the group when they came back out onto the ground. He walked halfway out there, then stopped. He spoke to the doctors and the physios. They brought him straight to the bench, and they've been working on him for the entire 7 or 8 minutes that they've been back out on the ground. You can just see him trying to loosen up that back, but he's going to start on the bench at the beginning of this third term.
It's an interesting thought process you're going through, Kingy, but Brendan McCartney has spent a hell of a long time of his experience at AFL down at Geelong, and Geelong just didn't seem to make too many structural changes, and I get the feeling that we're going to see Lake in the back half for the majority of the season, and likewise the likes of Murphy.
And Hargrave again starts forward with the job on Fisher.
I wonder when they'll consider the sub, Jakura maybe, to come on and give them a bit more zip up forward. But the third quarter is underway. See, that looked like it was high contact, didn't it, on Del Santo from Griffin, maybe with the rear to the head.
Straight in, both of them, wasn't it? It was good 50-50.
So opening seconds of this third quarter. Sam Gilbert still being tested. Minson or...
It's just great pressure from the Saints. It's really high class.
Lack of awareness from Easton Woods. They're hunting in numbers, the Saints, and reaping the rewards. Montagna on the break, and he was wound up. You can see where the kick went.
It's not the first time tonight for Easton Woods as well. He's just got to get more aware that he's playing a high-pressure game. It'll continue to go up as they try and make finals footy at some stage down the track. And he's got to have an understanding of what's behind him as well as what's in front of him.
Sam Gilbert really struggling down here, guys. He's just walking along the boundaries, just shaking his head to the physios and doctors. No, he's not right to go. He'll be subbed out almost immediately.
Roughhead in trouble.
Yep. It's his second big head clash. That one on the ground earlier on. He copped the Sharon right in the mush as the ball comes out to Cordy on centre wing. Now they're starting to go, the Bulldogs. Cross over the top to his skipper there, and Boyd unfortunately goes to the boundary line, and Roughhead just gets up, and he'll feel it tomorrow. Look at this one. Up he goes, and just got tunnelled there. Landed right on the top of his back. Takes the wind out of you. Goddard, hard at it. Hayes always is. Jones through his legs. It's picked up by Easton Wood.
He got rid of it quick that time.
Got rid of it quickly that time. You better believe it. Up it goes to full forward. But they've just got no one to take a mark up there at the moment. Gene Syracuse are too small, and out it comes. A strong mark taken there by Boyd,
who moves it quickly and gets it deep again. From the side, Cordy looked likely. Beautifully done by Gene Syracuse. That's what he's paid to do. They needed that. Gene Syracuse comes up with the goal, and that might give them some impetus early in the third quarter.
Well, it's the perfect start for the Bulldogs, isn't it? The one thing they haven't had at any stage in the first half was a ground-level presence when the long kick went in. Dalehouse has been playing further up the field. They miss his crumbing capacity, his speed at the packs. But now Daniel Syracuse gets on the end of it. You can just see he bides his time, just a couple of short steps in front. Then he reads the ball beautifully, and that is a terrific finish on the left foot.
Yeah, the replay wasn't overly kind to Jaron Geary.
No.
He'll learn from that. No point ball watching if your man's in a better position than you.
Still trying to loosen up the back. I said, geez, had some work done on that back, Sam Gilbert.
So it's been basically the best part of 50 minutes of play since the last goal. And they've got it now, the Bulldogs, and believe it or not, as Jared said early on, in low-scoring game, you only need a couple to get back into it. It's only 25 points of difference. So, Cooney.
He's shot from a tank perspective, Adam Cooney. He really... We know he's got a knee problem. We know he hasn't got the level of endurance that he needs to have to be at his very best. But he put in an explosive 5 minutes in the second quarter, and on that effort, you'd reckon he's still recovering.
This will need to be a good kick.
Yeah, Hargrave, Lake, Cooney, Higgins, all trying to find a bit of gas for the tank after a number of injury-interrupted seasons last year and the year before.
They've manned up everywhere, the Bullies. It's one-on-one everywhere at the moment.
So Simpkin goes long down the line. Why wouldn't you kick it to the skipper? Off hands Del Santo. That's great play. You kick it to a bloke who'll always contest. At least the forward crummers know where it's going to go. And away goes Del Santo. 3 bounces now. 60 metres out from goal. Up towards Goddard, fighting hard. Good play there by Cross. Held his ground beautifully. Stephen couldn't get the kick off the ground. Now it's Lake. Lake kicks out past 50. The ball sits nicely. Can Hargrave pick it up? He does. Inside he goes to Lake. He kept going. He used brute strength to get it through. Handballs off the Cooney. Great play, Lake. Now a chance for the Bulldogs. Almost.
Well, on the back of that, it was a great effort by Cross, but Goddard is working really hard off the wing going forward, whereas for the last 2 weeks he's worked off the wing going back.
Oh, Montagna just squeezed it out, but it still might be very costly. Griffin just goes and says, go fetch, and Jan Syracusa gets the bounce he wanted. Well done, Geary, that time. Hassled him all the way, and now he's hemmed in a little, but gets out of it by finding Blake.
Yeah, that was another opportunity. If they could have gone bang-bang with a couple of quick goals, it would have lifted the entire team.
You can feel the difference, can't you, here?
Yep, it's lifted. Cripps is on, the substitute for St Kilda, and Gilbert's night is over with that back injury.
Well, the first thing Brendan McCartney's done is he's just said one-on-one. Everyone's got a man.
Which is interesting because they're such a talented lineup, the Saints, that if their stars can win their one-on-one battles, they're going to be hard to restrain. Cripps gives it plenty. Cross was good last time, but Goddard learned his lesson. He engaged a little earlier that time, takes the mark.
Well, the replay will be interesting just to see how he got him out of the contest, whether there was a push or whether it was a side bump.
Hip and shoulder, I think, in the side, Jared. Just too strong.
And that's something Cross needs to probably be aware of. He can't take the front position against Goddard, who's a bloke of bull.
He missed one earlier, but he doesn't miss that. And good steadier for the Saints after the Bulldogs came out of the blocks in this third quarter.
It's a great transition from the Saints right across the city side of the ground. Quick mark, quick ball movement, got it into a one-on-one.
Let's have a look at the marquee, Jared, as well.
Yeah, well, this is Del Santo getting the ball moving forward. And here's the push out, side bump, all fair in love and war, and it was a good result for the Saints.
They're back out to 31 points now. 2-5-17. St Kilda 7-6-48. Cripps on, and Gilbert nice and tight. A lot of work on his hip flexors and stretching his lower back. He sits down for the rest of the game. Up goes Mintz and gets the tap. Shark by Armitage. Good play. Malira. Now the Saints go forward again. Up goes the skipper. He was pushed out of the way. Made the most of it, umpire said. Incidental contact, play on. Good stuff as Roughhead gets the handball going. It comes out from Cross. Out to Picken. Picken now gets the handball going. Can they make something of it this time as Hargrave goes over the top? Now there's movement for the Bulldogs. The long kick forward. This is what they need to do. Cordy pushed his opponent out but just couldn't glove the mark. And the ball goes over the line out of bounds for a throw-in.
That's a good little passage of play as we see this contact here. Don't know that he had much intent of going for the ball.
I think that might have been a reward free kick in retrospect. He's been paid a few times tonight. McAvoy gets the tap down. Good play again by the Saints. Just plenty of time to twist and turn Simpkin and go down the line. Boyd marks for the Bulldogs.
There was a nice clearance by David Armitage. He's got a real opportunity to put a big game together.
And they come from all angles. Simpkin shut it down again. The Bulldogs bereft of really meaningful forward options. Cooney says, try catching that one. Jones will have a go at it. McAvoy won't. He's going to thump it through. Kill the contest. It's a good point about Armitage, Jared. He's taken a little longer than they'd hoped, but he looks ready, just doesn't he, right now?
He does. As I said earlier, he had a poor start. I reckon the coach gave him, basically read the riot act to him, and he lifted last week. He's got 10 possessions now, but he's got to start to become a 25 possession player. Lenny Hayes is a classic mentor for him and role model. Here he is again.
Well, Hayes gives it back to him. They were a little off balance for a moment, but Fisher gets them on the even keel, takes it out to Kaczynski. Lake came late, gave away the free. Probably wasn't a bad one to give. He better give it back quickly, though, Brian.
Gee, you'd be disappointed in Ryan Hargrave. If your job is to make sure Sam Fisher isn't getting the footy, he's not taking it seriously.
There was nothing pretty about the delivery for Revolt that time. Spinning move, Stanley. Couldn't get on the end of it. The Bulldogs, this handball mantra continuing. Oh, rough it. Dangerous times now.
Nice.
And they hand it over. Montagna kicks the goal. And it's a tough old night for the Bulldogs. And the Saints fans and players are letting them know all about it.
Great pressure by the Saints, but it was an incredible mistake. I think it was from the skipper, actually.
Gee, it's an interesting exchange between Robert Murphy and Nick Riewoldt, Jared. You're right. It was Matty Boyd that tried to fire the quick hand pass away, didn't get all of it. I think they might have told him about it afterwards, and Robert Murphy was very quick to get in the face of Nick Riewoldt and say, hey, that's our skipper, that's not on.
Well, he was put under some pressure by this handball from Roughhead, but had to be better than that. Even just make the decision to take the ball across the line.
Nick Riewoldt just goes in and leans on him and says, good job, your goal. And good on Robert Murphy to come in and really look him in the eye and say, mate, that's rubbish.
Thanks, guys. Ben couldn't get
Another ball up.
The one stat that we're not allowed to have from footy clubs is GPS. They guard it like it's a crown jewels. You'd just love to have a look at Lenny Hayes' GPS, his work rate, and compare it to David Armitage's, because if you're David Armitage, that's the information you'd be able to get from the club, but you'd want to get.
Great play from Stephen. Comes in, kicks it up towards his skipper off the back of the pack. Couldn't quite glove it. Easton Wood hands it over to him. Second handball defensive error in about a minute from the Western Bulldogs. Results in a goal, and Armitage has kicked it. He's having a wonderful night. The skipper was there again, and yet again a handball pressure mistake by the Bulldogs. Hands it on a plate to the Saints, and they've kicked away now. Lead by 42 points.
Well, I reckon, Jason, the Bulldogs came out much better. Their work rate and their intensity better. They went up a level, but the Saints have been able to go another level.
Yeah, where the Saints have got St Kilda easily covered is the work they do when they don't have the footy. The pressure that they immediately put on the Western Bulldogs, and you can see another example of it here. Easton Wood, he's in the right spot. He picks up the ball, but he's got no support. He's got to get rid of the footy, and there are St Kilda numbers just swarming around the ball, and they walk it in for another goal.
There's Armitage on the phone.
I reckon he'll be getting a pat on the back.
Stanley into the ruck, and it continues going St Kilda's way. Malera, Nunes, and now Polo. The left foot, long, Riewoldt ready. Kazitsky there as well. Good work from Roughhead. All hands on deck for the Dogs. Boyd had to be careful with the handball. Gave it to Easton Wood. Watch out.
What a tackle.
Oh, ferocious stuff, Lenny Hayes. And Jack Stevens salutes with a goal, and they all go to Lenny. And there's a rumble around Etihad Stadium.
You talk about hitting a brick wall. Lenny Hayes has just read the sidestep and gone crunch. Stopped him in his tracks. Have a look. He steps him and bang. Down he goes. He reads it beautifully, Lenny Hayes. And then he gets rewarded by the great finish from Jack Stevens. That is a fantastic tackle. Just drove him into the dirt. That's a rugby-style tackle.
Well, the Bulldogs' opening half of 1-5 was their lowest first half as a club since round 16, 1996, when they kicked 1-1 against the Brisbane Bears. So they've kicked a goal in this half, as we know, but the picture is pretty bleak for the Dogs at the moment.
Yeah, 2 goals in a minute, 4 in 4.5 minutes in this quarter. And I tell you what, Easton Wood, he gave the last handball away that was intercepted. He was absolutely crunched. And Lenny Hayes, well, if his old teammate Luke Ball needed some inspiration, that's what he'll be looking at, because round 2 last year, Lenny Hayes, out for 12 months, has done all the work as you'd expect from a super professional. And what a night he's turning on tonight as Milne bombs it long. The Saints are looking to really carve them up now. McAvoy up high, Del Santo front and square, over to the skipper, open goal. Thank you very much. Saints on fire at Etihad Stadium. The Saints are carving them open now. The floodgates have burst. And Nick Riewoldt doing the hard work up forward. Lenny Hayes doing it at the other end. He was the bloke who got the ball going for him again. And the Saints are now starting to really tear the Bulldogs apart.
But we speak about work rate, and we saw Armitage run from the centre to kick the previous goal. You had McAvoy run from the centre to push up hard, just to create the imbalance between the talls and the Bulldog defenders. And the work rate of Riewoldt, unsurpassed as a tall forward.
So after the Bulldogs kick the opener in this third quarter, that is 5 in a row for St Kilda. And Nick Riewoldt,
3 in 2.5 minutes, if you don't mind, Hutto.
he becomes the first multiple goal kicker of the game. And they're into the 50, the Dogs. Here's Geary, though, just slipping away again to Blake. You heard the call from Jones, and he can dart from half-back. There's plenty of meaning about the way they're going at the moment. Cripps has got himself into the clear on the wing. Time to assess what's ahead. It's been a fertile 5 or 6 minutes for the Saints. That kick not so good. And the Dogs have got some numbers back there, and they've got Murphy. And he decides to kick, and it wasn't a great one. Ruffy wasn't really expecting it. He didn't really want it. Cripps, and they're circling again, the Saints. But no way out for Cripps. In fact, he might be pinged here for holding the ball. No. Umpire lets it ride. Oh, Montagna with extra desire. Got it forward. Again, the Saints continue just to squeeze and squeeze. And their forward pressure exemplary. We're going to have a ball up.
Well, the Saints have just lifted. Almost if it was sparked by Gian Syracuse's goal, the 2-minute mark. Since then, 5 consecutive goals, 3 in 2.5 minutes. And they're eager for more. You can just see the spring in a step. McAvoy working hard. Good play by Minson. Got the tap and roved it and kicked it himself, but it's coming straight back. Almost. Blake dropped the sitter. Picked up by Cordy. Under pressure. Goes again. Flicks it out. Good play. Oh, they've been fantastic. Armitage has been sensational tonight. Goddard squares it up. This bloke waiting for it, Malira. No, he won't get it. They go inside from Geary. Good kick. The mark's been taken by Stanley. Another bloke that Scotty Waters has had his eye on for a while and just thinks he's ready to explode. He's been pretty good tonight. Just tried to chip it forward. And the captain got back into the hole and took the strong mark. So Boyd for the Bulldogs.
Just a wall of St Kilda players. A kick away from Boyd as well. That's why he's got to go lateral.
Addison chips up the line to Picken. Has to go back. Nothing on. Addison again. Defensive 50. Trying to thread the needle. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Squeeze the life out of them was the whole theme of the game for the St Kilda Football Club. They've done what the coaches wanted. Higgins has to go back to full back. Lake says, right, let's go again. Long kick out wide to Grant. It's just going to bounce inside for the throw in.
Just going back to David Armitage, he's had 5 possessions in this term. He's up to 13 possessions now. He's got to set himself for a 10-possession quarter. He's not a natural accumulator, but that will make him an A-grader rather than where he's at the present time.
Well, Boyd is a natural accumulator. He's had 24 touches, the Dogs skipper, and that takes them almost up to the wing.
Yep. Have a look at this, guys. We're going to put a score up. Gold Coast in front of the Bombers by a goal. Oh. Can you believe it? In Dustin Fletcher's 350th.
Well, they had a few injuries, didn't they, the Bombers? So that's interesting. Here's Jan Syracusa up to half forward. Cordy.
He's been impressive in just glimpses.
Just a few little nuances. He's shown something. Hargrave.
Shocking kick.
Oh, I don't know what he was thinking then.
He's had a bad night, Ryan.
He's had a dreadful moment. Yep.
On the counter, this is Stephen. He looks up and sees only Bulldog jumpers, but he also sees plenty of space. And vacant lot on the wing, but as you can see, the numbers eventually went out. And Lake decides to go backwards to work around the zone. He's sure he had to.
I was having a chat to Rodney Eade at half-time, and he was just saying that whenever St Kilda turn it over, it's when they go for that short pass rather than the long kick to their tall forwards. And we just saw it again then. Every time they go long, they put the Bulldogs' defence under pressure. When they go short and try and force a pass that isn't on, they turn it over.
Jared, when the Bulldogs are having such a hard time getting it out of their defensive 50, and you mark it pretty much at half-back flank towards centre wing, and you kick it 40 metres back to your defensive 50,
it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. I mean,
you need to change it up a bit, don't you?
You do. I mean, at some stage they've got to take the longer option.
And here's one. Now they get a clear break and they kick it forward. Going up for the mark was Jones. Couldn't mark it, but there's 3 Saints. Well, they made a pact. They wanted to have 3 or 4 players around every contest. They've done it beautifully tonight. The mongrel kick around the boundary line came there by Polo. It almost curved back in. But Cooney's got the free kick for the Bulldogs.
That's just fatigue. I mean, he's just not summonsing up enough courage to say, I'm tired, I'm knackered, I just can't I just get rid of this ball. You've still got to keep it in.
We saw the recipe for success and the key indicators being dominated by the Saints. Lobbing kick into the pocket doesn't do much as far as the forwards are concerned. Good work off the ball by Polo to allow Jones to have a clear space to work in.
Look at the numbers, and no pressure whatsoever, and numbers just to run, pick and choose the way they want to use the footy.
Yeah, iconic stuff. The Dogs languishing behind as Malira carved the kick out. He just crafted it across to the big man McAvoy. Now, the Dogs do have the numbers behind the play here, so or forward of the ball. So McAvoy has to think through this one. And he goes back into the middle where there's some safety in numbers. On Tagner.
Whoops.
Blake off the bench. Beautiful timing for Higgins. He does go with the flow. Gives it to Cross. Kicks it down. They're outnumbered again and really not favoured at all by the kick.
Geez, you wouldn't want to be a forward for the Bulldogs.
No, not right
would you?
now.
Dempster quickly moves it, changes it up.
A, you're outnumbered, and B, your teammates are kicking it to the advantage of your opponents.
Not much of a chance in that situation. Simpkin has been good. His disposal's been very good tonight.
Hayes has just snuck up off the bench.
Montagna out to Hayes, as Jared said. Only Jared and Montagna saw him sneak on.
He's got an invisible shield.
Can he play this bloke? One of the most respected players in the AFL. He kicks up to one of the superstars, his captain, and look at that for a pack mark. Cleans up the pack, takes the mark, runs on, and look at that, 50 metres to centre half forward. Good-looking kick, almost a chop of the arms there. Good play by Cripps, held his ground, and good play by Addison to slap it further afield. Now Picken's got it. Nothing on. Picken has to run round in circles. There's nothing ahead. Gene Siracusa takes the mark and goes laterally to the wing. Hargrave. And they stop and set up. Doggies fans just getting a bit restless. Roughhead, who's been cleaned up a few times tonight. Kicks, sets it up on his teammate's head to cross there. No chance. Saints have the numbers. Goddard's got it. He can just hold up for a while. There's nothing on, so he flicks it over the top to Stephen. Stephen's got the loose man further afield and hits him. Stanley.
Well, there's a real clash here of theory, Jason, as against ability. I think Brendan McCartney wants to play a high possession game, particularly in the back line, and yet we just don't see the skill level being able to deliver on what he's after.
54 points the difference at the moment. Bulldogs flicking around. Boyd's kick. Cross gets the bad bounce. Goddard, handballs. Nice play, Stephen. Back to Blake. Back now to Geary. Another player who's been good tonight. His disposal has been excellent. Out wide. Simpkin has a bounce. There's a few options. One from Kazitsky. Beautiful kick. Kazitsky doubled back, then led into the space, and Simpkin hit him. That's been one of the highlights, Jared, hasn't it? The good kicking of St Kilda tonight when they've gone forward, particularly of halfback.
You go, Jared.
Well, I think they've been quite impressive. They've also they've got a much less complicated game style because they've got so many tools. They can just bang it in there.
Well, I'll tell you the other thing that stands out to me is we see Stanley miss the shot for goal. If you look at the kick to handball ratio, St Kilda is 1.5 kicks per handball. The Western Bulldogs is 1 kick, 1 hand pass. And every time they play on, it's a hand pass. That means the player that gets the ball has to make a quick decision, can't stop and have a look at things. And with the St Kilda pressure, that's caused half the turnovers. They've had to kick blindly forward to outnumbered forwards.
Interesting your thoughts on what you've seen tonight from St Kilda as to a lot of people have had them out of the 8 this year, one of the sides to move out of the 8, but whether you'd be forced to reassess or not from what we've seen. Let's look at the Dogs at the moment. Go forward, Higgins, and it's over and out.
Well, Jared, you'd have to say, just looking tonight, the one thing that you could take away from St Kilda is they've got their structure right, they've got their discipline right, and the players have bought into the plan.
Looks that way to me. Ed was concerned about them earlier in the season, particularly practice match form. Looked a bit flat, but geez, this isn't a flat performance. This is high energy stuff.
Well, they'd be ruining the loss to Port Adelaide right now. Otherwise, they'd be undefeated. You'd suspect after round 3, Malira giving them an extra nice little touch or two around the edges too. That doesn't amount to anything. It's Lake. Now, they've actually got out here, the Dogs, for one of the rare occasions where they can use their feet. Hargrave has got Gene Siracusa up ahead if he sees him, and Higgins all behind their St Kilda opponents to push back to goal. Unfortunately, the link breaks down in the chain.
It's amazing how we have gone 360 degrees, where we've gone away from the long bombs to Snake Baker, Ed, and all of a sudden, on the back of Collingwood's success and Geelong's success, tall forwards that can run like Reece Stanley and Nick Riewoldt, all of a sudden so valuable.
Oh, they're worth a weight in gold, aren't they? I mean, even that kick in there, Gene Siracusa, a rover, had it been a taller forward, he'd been able to take the mark, or if he'd had been able to lead up, but just caught out. So a chance here for the Doggies. Again, it's 20 minutes since their last goal. 1 of 2 for the night.
Well, if he just bombs it long, there's a couple of loose St Kilda players back there, and there's one of them.
Well, Jason, you've been at the other end of those kicks before, and that's not what you want to have coming in on you.
It's not, and we've got to remember, Barry Hall, taking him out of this forward line has left a huge hole, and they haven't been able to replace it. Liam Jones still finding his feet as a key position player. Jared Grant looks to have stagnated, and he's only a real cameo performer. They just don't have a bailout kick, and that's one of the issues for them.
I think the one thing we have to keep in mind, this is a work in progress, and really they're probably 2 or 3 years away from coming back up to seriously compete with even the St Kildas of the football world.
Yeah, I think you're right, Kingy, and that's one thing when we're talking about St Kilda, do you re-evaluate? You've got to take into account the opposition, and the way they're looking at the moment, I think they're going to lose more games than they win.
So on that, Kingy, on your theory there, it's the right thing for Brendan McCartney to do, to hold his structures and get them to keep playing in the way that he wants them to eventually play when they get it right.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Ed. I do think at some stages you need to be able to give them some reward, and the reward normally comes from scoring goals. They scored 2 so far in this game. You would like to see them maybe attack a little bit in the last, see if they can give their fans something to take home, see if one of the young guys can really spike up and do something special.
Yep. Hayes again showing he's still got some zip as he worked it out to the wing. Armitage getting involved on multiple occasions, got himself into all sorts. Their play on the call. Milne said, oh, that's the way I play anyway. Up to half forward, Markovic ran around it. And now, as you can see, he's got it. But Murphy was dancing around everyone in the shadows. Picked up by Milne. He can see the goals. Hasn't had a big night tonight. And he misses away to the left. That's just his 7th disposal.
I know that's exactly what happens when you're having a poor night. You get the blinkers on. He had 3 or 4 blokes he could have given that to. Goddard was there. I don't think he knows who to ring or which phone to use, poor old Brendan McCartney, but it hasn't been a pleasant evening for him.
What we're seeing with Stephen Milne is a new coach come in with a new forward structure, and Stephen Milne has been asked to play a completely different role. He's only kicked 4 goals for the year, and he's no longer going to be sat in the goal square and able to turn blokes around. They want him hitting the packs at the feet of Rewald, the feet of Kazitsky, etc. So it's a real challenge for a bloke who to relearn an old trick.
Yeah, but he's got to make sure he doesn't lose his team ethos in doing so.
As in kick the ball to Goddard that time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Who was absolutely bleeding.
Dalhouse, Griffin, Cooney. Now, here's a chance. Jones kicked in on top of his head. Very hard spot to kick to. Jones just didn't run to where the...
Well, he didn't run into
where
the vision
player
of the player.
was.
You're
exactly.
right,
He had that hook
right.
around his body. There was no chance.
And that's someone that's not reading the game early enough.
Have a look at the run on Rewald.
Yeah, look at it.
He has run from the goal square to there at 100 miles an hour.
You know, I was bullish about wanting to see Brian Lake playing Nick Rewald, but you've got to take your hat off to Lucas Markovic.
Yeah.
I think he's done a terrific job. He's stuck to his guns. Rewald's only had the 9 possessions. He's kicked a couple of goals, but when you consider it's been, you know, pretty much one-way traffic around the ground, I reckon he's done a great job.
And we might get a highlight or a replay of that ball going in. Because, Jason, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you just said there about Jones not reading the play, how he should have gone probably 5 metres earlier than when the ball was coming in to at least attract attention with the ball carrier. Anyway, the ball's inside 50 again for the Saints. And how about that? It's been a great battle tonight between these two, Cross and Goddard.
And a tactical win, I think, also for Scott Waters, who has pushed him from defensive sweeper off a wing to pushing forward and getting in there and trying to create just another option. Their forward line has been loaded up tonight.
Nathan Jakura is going to come on, I think. Kingy down there by the look of things.
I'm still not sure where you reckon Brian Lake is going to get the tank from to go with Rewald. I reckon he'd last about 6 minutes.
Well, he's had a better pre-season this time around, and he's got to be good enough to run with him, at least for stages. I'd rather see Brian Lake get in the game more.
Goddard puts it through. Another one of the Saints. And they're out now beyond 10 goals. That's his second. 62 points. It's a mighty gap. And a convincing performance here by St Kilda.
Nathan Jakura has come into the game, Hutto, as you correctly stated, and young Liberatore has been subbed out after a very quiet night, just 6 disposals and only 1 clearance, which is well down on his best form.
And it's symptomatic many ways, Kingy, of just how badly beaten they have been through the middle of the ground.
They have been badly beaten, outclassed when in possession. The Saints have been far better when in possession, but just being tougher at the right times and for longer, you'd have to say, the Saints tonight. Their stars have lowered their colours to the St Kilda stars too, which hasn't gone unnoticed by the coach's box, I'm sure.
Yeah, Cooney poor, Griffin average to less than average. They can't afford for Griffin to have an average game. They've got to have him in the votes.
Saints have kicked the last 6 goals. And away they go again. Cripps, who was the sub.
Good chase.
Little handball in front. Umpire gave him the benefit of the doubt. In goes Cross. Just double gloved it for a moment there. Good play by Jones. Was grabbed high. Umpire let it go, which was good. Let it go. Play on. Out of bounds. And we'll have a throw in. Let's have a look at that kick going forward before that we're talking about. Cooney had the ball. Now
you can see Liam Jones. Now, if he's got his back to play to start with, which is terrible. But because of his positioning, he forces Cooney to kick it across his body, back into traffic. You'll see on the left another St Kilda player comes in. They had the numbers there. If he was watching play and saw that the ball was going from the wing into the middle, he should have been on the fat side of his opponent, leading out into space early.
Should have just sprinted, is that right,
yep.
Jace? Just sprint into the space.
No advantage. 30 seconds to go in the quarter, and it's Nick Del Santo climbing to his feet with a smile on his face. Well, he hasn't got a smile on his face looking at him closely, but he hopefully will after he kicks the goal, because he's got another opportunity here for St Kilda, and they have really feasted on this Saturday night at Etihad Stadium. They've kicked 12 goals, 8. They've totally restricted the Bulldogs to just 2 goals. And Nick Del Santo, he's worked it out. It's coming back. Not quite enough, Jared.
Just want to pay a little tribute here to Dylan Addison, who copped a corky on a ground ball about a minute ago. He got up and he still put pressure and tackled 2 times after copping a serious whack to the thigh. It was a gutsy effort.
Last seconds of this third quarter. Is there time for the Saints? There's always time for Stephen Milne. And he's grabbed another one, and he won't know what to do here because he's not allowed to play on.
I'll tell you what, Rob Murphy will be unhappy. He was the one that kicked it out long, and the quick turnover didn't give him enough time to get back and pick up Stephen Milne, who was in a little pocket of space, and Milne was desperate for this one. He's had a lean night. He hasn't got on the scoreboard aside from kicking it behind when he should have dished the ball off.
He's got the nervous 90s. 495.
He can't get to 500.
Well, here he is. Kicked 2 goals, 2 in both games so far this year. And there's one for the night for him. And it caps off a magnificent third quarter again for St Kilda. Total domination. They lead by 69 points here at Etihad Stadium. And maybe they can be more of a thorn in the opposition side than the experts thought in season 2012. From the side court, he looked likely. Beautifully done by Jan Syracuse. That's what he's paid to do. They needed that. To be careful with the handball. Gave it to Easton Wood. Watch out.
What a tackle.
Oh, ferocious stuff, Lenny Hayes. And Jack Stevens salutes.
Saints are looking to really carve them up now. McAvoy up high. Del Santo front and square. Over to the skipper. Open goal. Thank you very much. Saints on fire at Etihad Stadium.
They certainly are. They lead by 69 points. The Dogs just a meagre 2 goals for the night. And the big guns are dominating. Lenny Hayes right back to his best with 25 disposals for the Saints. They've spread the goals. Stephen Milne, as a fact, has only kicked the 1. Nick Revolt's only kicked 2, so some good signs there. And the Dogs have got the Demons next week. Bit to worry about. Let's get down to David King with the Bulldogs.
Well, not a great time to be talking to you, Brendan, I've got to say. What have you drawn at 3/4 time and presented to the boys? What's the message?
Well, you can't hide away, Kingy. They've set the ground up better. They've pressured us into mistakes, and we lost our nerve with the ball a little bit. So I told them not to be worried about the ball coming. You actually back yourself and play.
What about the leadership group there? You seem to get them. I know you get them at every break, but you give them a rocket there at 3/4 time?
No, they've got to help their younger teammates, and they've got to play the game out themselves.
Good on you, mate.
Oh, it's a test, isn't it, for a new coach? And Brendan McCartney feeling it. There he is at 3/4 time.
I didn't realise how ordinary they were travelling, the Bulldogs, Hutto, and we've seen some real holes tonight. Their forward structure lacks any cohesion. They've got no key forwards. They lack a lot of pace around the ground. They've got a big job ahead of them, and I think that's reflected in the comments that Brendan McCartney just made. He said the senior players got to help out the kids. They've just got to fight their way through it.
Yep, senior players have done really well, he said, over the summer, but a few short of a gallop. This bloke's tried hard all night, the captain, Boyd, and, well, let's see what the Bulldogs can do now. So the mark's been taken at half forward by Hargrave, goes inside, finds Cross, tries to get it moving quickly to Picken, who just bombs it long, hopes for the best, up towards Cordy in the goal square, did well, did everything but get his hands to the ball in the end. Just needed to push a little bit harder. Ball comes out now to Polo, who was an inclusion in the selected side instead of Ledger. Easton Wood kicks in again, drops short.
Well, he gave his young teammate absolutely no chance. When they have got the structure of a forward line in 2 or 3 years' time with Roughhead, Cordy and Jones, but right now they need to be given a little bit of a chop out with decent kicks.
You've got to kick it to the spot, don't they, Jared?
Yep.
And that's not happening tonight. Here's a chance now. Boyd, little chip kick out. Griffin. Now that's gone to the hot spot. Anyone there? No, only the Saints. And I tell you what, this bloke has been very, very good tonight and has been all year. Malira. Scott Waters loves his defensive pressure. Good tackling all through the season so far, and he's been nippy tonight as well. Here's Boyd again for his third for the quarter. Little chip kick forward. Just couldn't quite get it. Hargrave around the corner. Needs a lucky bounce. Didn't get it, and it's rushed through from behind.
It didn't look at any stage. He had Liam Jones 10 metres clear, and he just kicked it off one step around his body when he should have taken the mark to start with.
Here's Stephen Milne well up the ground, guides it up to Big Cozzy. Kaczynski takes the grab. Now Stanley's pushed to the 50 here. It goes in that direction, and he's only got to beat Murphy. Should be comfortable for height. Oh, he's made the free against Murphy.
He knew he was out of position there, Robert Murphy. He just tried to interfere with Stanley.
He's a perfect player for the fast break because he's so tall and so quick.
Yep.
I mean, normally people of his pace are, you know, half his size. So he has got a real chance to create a spot for himself and own it and redefine how it's played in footy.
1 goal, 2 to his name so far. He always thought he could kick the distance. You could see that straight away because he turned his back on everyone else.
Yeah, don't like that.
And went back to have the shot. He's missed. 1 goal, 3 for the evening.
He caught between a rock and a hard place and takes his eye off the footy. In the end, he's just protecting himself so that he doesn't get a knee in the ribs.
He didn't actually do much, really, did he?
No, but he ran into him as he was trying to jump for the footy.
Once again, we see the Bulldogs trying a short chip kick, maybe a couple of handballs this out of the defensive area. Saints knew that coming in, and their whole focus was on pressurising the uncontested ball.
Western Bulldogs 2-6-18 at three-quarter time was their lowest since round 21, 2003, when they were 1-7 against St Kilda. It also means that the Bulldogs are yet to win a quarter of football in season 2012. So this is their big
mark, and he hasn't seen it. Yeah.
That's what they have to fight for here, the Bulldogs. Win the quarter, win their first quarter for the year. That's their target. Up the line it goes. Runner gets in the way.
Against the runner, too close to play.
Against the runner.
Yeah, he was too close to play. He was a little bit stiff, but he probably should have run off the other side. And it's a free kick going the way of Cripps. Watch this. We'll come back to it in a moment. Off the hands of the pack. Milne wants his second. Was he dragged down? Yes, he was. And he'll line up directly in front in the goal square for his second of the night.
Well, Robert Murphy's a little perplexed, but he had no choice. If he doesn't tackle him, he kicks it off the ground, runs into an open goal. Stephen Milne was clever. He just kept the ball in front of him without actually taking that clean possession. He was going to kick a goal one way or the other.
Well, it's probably a bit stiff. He was put on the angle there. I thought he was tackled right on the goal line in the square. Didn't matter. Gets his second. He's kicked the last 2 goals of the game. Let's have a look at the runner getting in the way here.
Seen this a couple of times today now. Over at Port Adelaide, their runner got in the way a couple of times.
A bit stiff there. He got himself out of the way. Didn't really affect the play there, but
he could have gone for the mark, actually.
Yeah.
He would have been better heading back infield, I think.
Yeah, and that was a good decision by the umpires there on lining up. It was just outside the goal square.
You can see he doesn't take possession, Stephen Milne. That was clever, but if Murphy just doesn't tackle him, he's got no chance of stopping him kicking the goal.
So 75 points the difference. Hard to believe. At the 2-minute mark of the third quarter, Gian Syracuse's second goal got them within 25 points and a sniff if they were able to get the next one. Well, instead of that, the Saints have absolutely gone on a frenzy and now lead by 75 points.
Seems a long time ago now, doesn't it?
8 consecutive goals,
to
right?
75. Hargrave with a thumper to try and produce the third of the night, but he doesn't. Stephen Milne is up to 496 goals now in his career.
You know, both Milne and Riewoldt have kicked 2 goals apiece, but I think their opponents, Robert Murphy and Lucas Markovic, have been far from the worst for the Bulldogs. I think they've really made them earn it.
So Polo gets himself in all sorts of trouble there, gets the kick along the line and is made look good there by his teammates. Good play. Armitage brings it inside. Nunes, who certainly doesn't look lost out in the big time in his first season, only his second game. Over the head of Milne. Cooney, who looks still short of a gallop, doesn't he? Looks like he's just lost that half a yard. Cooney, beautiful kick. That's what he can do when he can get a little bit of space. To Higgins. The Bulldogs silk department. Over to Jakira. Back it goes now to Higgins, who lines up from 55. Kicks it up to the goal square. Cordy up high. Should have taken the mark. Goes after his own ball. Gets it out. Grant in trouble. Back to Hargrave. Kicked it with his knee in the end. Comes out now to Cross. Boyd. And no result. For all that effort, it's marked by Fisher, and away go the Saints from the last line of defence through Stephen.
So Stephen can have a bit of a gallop and a kick to the captain, and Revolt just saw it chopped off by Addison, who takes it over and out.
Jared, I worry at times looking at Sean Higgins and the impact that he's going to have as a player. He lacks that great tank to cover ground. We just saw him then. He probably should have hit Jared Grant with the lead kick. He uses the ball well, but perhaps doesn't get to enough contests.
He's at a critical stage of his career. He's a guy that's always going to be an A-grader, but he's got to put 3 or 4 really good years together to get even close to that mark.
Needs the consistency of footy too, doesn't he?
He just doesn't look like he's got the capacity to work as hard as some of the others tank-wise.
So Matthew Boyd with the opportunity to join a fairly limited, exclusive list of goal kickers for the Dogs tonight.
Believe it or not, Hutto, they've been inside 40 to 38.
They've been inside more time. That is an astonishing stat, isn't it?
But most of them have been rubbish entries when you really put them into perspective.
So the 2 goal kickers at the moment are Jones and Gian Siracusa, and that is not about to change anytime soon.
Just on the tank issue, Jason, it's not like you go down the street and you buy a tank.
No.
Most guys have got the capacity to get to, you know, reasonably elite level if they're at this position, but to get to the elite level, you've got to work.
Yeah, you've got to have that willingness to push yourself through pain.
Dempster out wide. You don't need any injury worries in the middle of it, though, do you guys?
No, it takes seasons. To be able to build it, and once you've got it, then you can recover from an injury a hell of a lot more.
Hayes. Well, here's a man who had a knee reconstruction basically this time last year, and hasn't he worked it himself? To Revolt, to Hayes in the last quarter. He's still running on the overlap. Great play by Hayes again. Stanley gets it back. Guess who again? Hayes. That's what you need, isn't it, Jared? 3 goes in a row, sets it up to Kazitsky. Grant spikes the ball away, but Lenny Hayes just absolutely articulating what the point Jared was making.
Well, I just go back to David Armitage. He's up to 18. Now, a really big tank in that guy's system, and you'd expect him to get a 25 to 28 possession.
Those green spots were where the Saints have kicked their goals from tonight. As they're lining up for some more. Jones feeding it through. Del Santo with a flying snap. And out on the full. 33,000 listed as the crowd in here tonight. Ball goes up to the wing. Cordy has it knocked away by Fisher. Actually saw it, I think there might be a conflicting figure of 28,000 earlier, which is probably a bit closer to the mark. I'll confirm that for you shortly. McAvoy over the top. Minson's there. Cooney.
Another Falcon.
And not much going on there. Just bodies everywhere. Some tired boys out there. Sorry, Kingy.
One thing, Hutto, the Dogs need to look at over the next few weeks is the use of Adam Cooney. I think that he needs to play a bit more time at full forward. He just doesn't seem to be covering the ground and being able to keep up defensively with the St Kilda midfielders. Maybe just needs to spend half a game or quarters of games as a full forward.
Brilliant tap there by Goddard. He got up the 3rd man up, hit it out to Milne. Been able to pick it off. Lake on the left boot. Out to Picken. Has to wait for it. Here's Del Santo's chance to square up. Wasn't able to do so. Griffin. Long kick. Moving the ball quickly out towards Cordy. It's punched away from behind by Simpkin. Cordy goes to ground. Does well with the handball.
Come on the look at Cordy.
No, he looks like
a long time coming, but he knows where to position himself.
He'll get there. Griffin. Here's Del Santo inside with a handball to Jones. Jones looks up. He's got another handball inside. He goes
Milne
to
all on his
Harmitage.
own.
Milne is all on his own, and Milne takes the mark. He wanted to go on, but Milne, who couldn't get it for most of the game, is about to kick his third in a row. And he does. He steps around,
Cheeky.
kicks goal number 3. He loves it. He kicks it, and the Saints are now racking up the percentage in this game. 95 to 20. Make that 101. It's now 81 points the difference here at Etihad Stadium.
Well, he's starting to inch his way towards 500. The turnover came and then numbers running the other way. But it's a cheeky finish from Stephen Milne. I mean, he marks this 10 or 12 metres out, virtually directly in front, and he kicks it around the corner and across the body. You would just hate to think of the embarrassment a player's going to suffer if he misses one of those.
He did in the grand final, so that's the way he rolls.
It is dangerous play.
Easton Wood throws his hands in the air. He had to understand the player he's playing on, who loves working that defensive space and the space behind him more than any other small forward we've seen for a long time.
81 points now. The Dogs being embarrassed by the Saints, and Riewoldt plucks out another one.
I don't think he did too much wrong, Lucas Markovic. He fought for front spot. He got there, but it was just the longer arms of Nick Riewoldt able to reach over the top and pull the mark out of his hands. It's been a good battle, this one. Nick Riewoldt now up to, this will be possession number 12, going for goal number 3. So he hasn't dominated. He's looked like he might dominate at stages, but hasn't.
And after the beautiful goal he kicked earlier in the night from the tight angle out at 45, he misses that one.
No pressure when you're kicking from the boundary, Hutto. But it's the ones when you're right in front where you think, uh-oh, what if I miss this? I'm going to look a goose.
But at this stage of the night, you wouldn't think there's much pressure on that kick either, really.
Okay, well, a little bit of interest in the game, boys. If Milne can snag another one, get his 4th, he'll move up to 498 goals, equal in the AFL, with Jonathan Brown as the most prolific goal kicker of the current day players.
Who will have more at the end of their careers, Jay Brown?
Oh, hello.
Or S. Milne? Was that a little clip on the jaw?
Placing on report for a strike. We'll have a look at it.
Reported.
Right. Just hold on 1 second, all right? Just hold on 1 second. I'm just placing him on report for a strike, all right?
Unbelievable.
And at 36.
That's the last thing the Bulldogs needed.
Wow. We'll have a good look at that in a moment. A report with 10 minutes or 11 minutes to go in a game when you're 81 points down and you're a key defender. What would you say to him, Jason, at the end of the game in the post-match?
Well,
to Brian Lake.
It's a little bit like we saw Matty Scarlett do it for Geelong, didn't we? There's no point letting your frustrations get the better of you, because his team needs him out there. He's one of those experienced players that needs to show the way, and he can't do it watching from the sidelines.
Picking under pressure, just turns it over.
You didn't answer the question.
I'd give him a burst. Does that answer it?
That answers it.
I'd give him a fearful burst.
I think we believe that, Fitz.
Because that is just a rubbish report.
It was pretty much a rhetorical question. Stephen goes for a gallop. He's been good tonight too. Look at that. He just dashes away, breaks the lines, gets the handball inside. Here comes another one. Stanley lines up. The two bad boys from last year combined. Up goes the skipper and takes a superstar mark. Nick Riewoldt. I tell you what, he is just building himself into great form. His marks have been good. He might have missed the last goal. He's kicked a couple tonight.
Probably kick this one harder now that he's on a tight angle.
Well, I want it for the highlights. He joins me on EMT at 8:30 tomorrow night on Fox Footy. So come on, Nick, put it through.
All around the corner kick.
To make the difference, 88 points, he's hit the post.
Goal umpire's missed it, I think.
Oh, umpire wants to give a goal here.
He was.
Well, it flicked the post and still went through.
I think it hit the post. We'll check upstairs.
Yeah.
We'll check upstairs.
It definitely hit the post. It still went through the goals, but it clips the near post. You can see it very clearly there.
And the goal umpire, let's hope he's got a Melway. He'll be up the country next week. Isn't that one? It's a point, so a minor victory for the Bulldog supporters.
Oh, dangerous kick. Good one, though.
A night where they haven't had too many wins.
Well, I wonder if that's just frustration from Robert Murphy himself. I mean, they've been mucking around trying to edge the ball out with over-possessing it. That time they go straight up the guts and they get it in the clear.
Higgins eager to move it on by hand, decides in the end to chip it out to Lake, who thought about continuing on. Cops a bit from the Saints fans after that incident before. Now Higgins up for possession, 20. Guides it, hoping that Hargraves could get over the top of Cripps. He couldn't. Polo, Blake, back into trouble.
Good pressure.
And it was good hassle, wasn't it? From a man who's tireless in his efforts. The skipper, Matthew Boyd. 33 disposals, 16 contested possessions. Puts it on top of the head and full forward, but yet another attack from the Dogs without any real meaning. And Malira on the way out for the Saints.
Kazitsky out on the lead. Out in the full, says the umpire, so it'll come back.
Got to go that side of the line. Thank you.
So the margin 83 points at the moment.
Well, anybody who saw the Bulldogs fight back against Adelaide last week, I think would be staggered to see this result, as I am. I just thought that they were playing with a hell of a lot more energy, etc. But can't take away from anything the Saints have done. They have taken their game to a very high level in round 3.
Let's have a look at this report with Brian Lake. And he's hit Tom Simpkin right on the button.
Done.
Well, for the big game against Melbourne next week, you'd think they might be missing Brian Lake. Roughhead is in there.
Gee, it is a big game too, isn't it, all of a sudden?
Oh, gee whiz. Higgins slams it on the boot. Free kick. Advantage is paid. Malira gets it out to Milne. Milne kicks up the middle. It's a shocker. It's going to come straight back. Here's a chance. Need to get another goal here, the Dogs, to avoid having what we believe is their worst ever result against the Saints, and they spray another one. So Cross gets a point. It's an 82-point margin. 81 is their worst losing margin to St Kilda. So the Saints playing for history now in the last 7 minutes and 15 seconds of this game.
Oh, it's going to be a hard one to bear for the coach we just saw there, Brendan McCartney. But he's certainly got a mantra about dealing with the wins and the losses. Right now, he'd love to have a win to deal with. But
the good news, Hutto, is that either he or Mark Neal will be enjoying their first win as a senior coach next week.
Unless it's a draw, which could be a low-scoring affair on the evidence we've seen so far. Oh, there's an opportunity to put one through. Grant gave it to Dalhouse. Still the indecision ruling. And he just couldn't get away from Blake. Well done to the old fella who lets Dalhouse know about it too.
No, it's brilliant tackle by Jason Blake. He clearly sized up his man, Dalhouse, and said, I've got you. You're in the veteran category and I'm a little speedster. And Blake just outthought him.
Lenny racks up another one. He's up to 30. Dempster finds Blake as the Saints are happy just to hang on to it.
Saints' record winning margin against the Bulldogs occurred in round 1 1967 when they won 22-13, 145 to 9-10-64, 81 points. It's an 82-point margin at the moment. Boys, we're witnessing football history. That's why we're so excited.
Thanks, Ed. Murphy takes the mark at half back. Now Chikura, who, well, surprisingly wasn't introduced into the game until virtually three-quarter time. That's a probing ball too.
A good kick, a really good kick
for Griffin. And Chikura had 15 touches last week. I actually thought I was surprised he was left out of there 21.
That's one of the few kicks heading into their attacking 50 that's actually been to the advantage of their teammates.
Yeah, one of the few times we've had space to kick into that advantage too. St Kilda's defensive structures haven't been able to shut them down. So Ryan Griffin, certainly not the output that his team needs from such a talented player. Keeps it low and at least keeps it straight. It's a goal. A rare commodity for the Western Bulldogs tonight. And they're back inside that 81-point margin, Ed. It's back to 76.
Playing for history.
Well, it's been a tough evening all round for everybody in the Western Bulldogs. For the kingpins like Ryan Griffin, it's been hard work. They've been isolated, they've been tagged hard, and he's had to work pretty hard for his return. But He obviously heard you, Red. He knows that history is on the line, and he shot truly.
So the Bulldogs 76 points in arrears. They've kicked 1 goal in each quarter. Jones at the 11-minute mark of the first, Gene Syracuse at the 2.25-minute mark of the second, and now they've missed altogether in the third, and now in the 20-minute mark of the last quarter, their third goal comes up. 12 scoring shots to 28. Says it all on the scoreboard tonight as the Saints lead by 76 points. Now the Bulldogs go again. Dalhouse waits for it. His captain Boyd flicks it over the top, but coming through was Geary. Geary now for the Saints, kicks up towards Milne, who's looking for a bit of glory himself tonight. Needs one more goal to go to the top of the list of current day players with Jonathan Brown. He won't get it this time as it comes off the back of the pack to Cross. Over the top to Minson, gives it off to Murphy. Murphy to Cooney. Cooney now looks up, handballs over the top. Needs a running player coming past. Does the young player there in Jones. Now it goes forward from Boyd, but they've turned it over again. Get a lucky bounce though. Jakura, he's the live wire, comes in, can't get his kick away, or he does get his kick away, but not on target, and it's out on the foot.
They've handballed far too much tonight, the Western Bulldogs, and inevitably it puts the kick under pressure when they eventually have to, because they don't have time to size up their options.
Nathan Jakura, of course, the son of the late Gadjul Jakura, the chairman of ATSIC, one of the all-time great leaders of Indigenous Australia. Passed away in 2004. Wonderful man. Ball goes outside 50. McAvoy. Jones over the top. Here's another chance for the Bulldogs. Griffin. Inside 50 with the kick. It'll be chopped off. Yes, it will be. Good play again. Geary. He's been solid tonight. Another bad bounce for the Saints. Here's a chance now for Cooney. You can look up at the top of your screen. There's plenty of Bulldogs there, and he's missed them both. They've cleaned each other up. Adding insult to injury. There were 2 players on, and I tell you what, Roughhead will need an aspirin tonight.
Yep. Talk about overusing the hand pass. The Western Bulldogs have had 176 kicks and 163 hand passes. St Kilda, 237 kicks to just 141 handballs.
Nothing working for the Dogs tonight. And that continues. Out on the full from Boyd.
Roughhead may need one, but I reckon the Bulldog supporters have already taken a couple.
Yep. Maybe washed it down with something late on a Saturday night as Montagna goes into the back pocket.
Hopefully about a dozen cold ales.
Be bourbon and cake, I think.
Dempster back to the goal square. And now Jones looking to escape.
I think one thing that would concern Brendan McCartney is the lack of pressure that the Bulldogs have been able to impose on St Kilda when they've had the footy. It's been far too easy for them to control the ball.
Well, they've had the footy 42 more times, and yet the Saints have laid 15 more tackles.
Yeah, and that's an indictment on work rate.
Free kick. Around the net. Was going to play holding the ball. He played high tackle.
You can hear it clearly. I was going to play holding the ball, but then I played high tackle because they caught him high.
I was going to pay it, but the high tackle.
He works hard, Luke Dalhouse. He's coming in for possession number 22.
It lands in the pocket, and again mistiming his run, or the kick missed the man anyway, Liam Jones. And as you mentioned, Ed, Geary's had a good start to the year. He's only played the 9 games last year, so he's looking for the continuity of footy, and he started well in the 20s with his disposals.
We're still trying to get David Armitage into the 20s himself.
You've been working hard on that, Jared,
He's been
tonight.
stuck on 19. Now look at Matthew Boyd. He's had 37 possessions. Now, there is your high-end possession winner. Armitage is averaging 13.6 over his career, and he's got to double that.
Cooney around the body. Consolation prize for the Bulldogs. And they get their 4th. And for the first time of the night, kicked 2 goals in a quarter. 49-33. They trail now by 70 points. 15-13, 103 with 2 minutes and 17 on the clock.
A rare straight kick as well from the Bulldogs. It was a good finish from Adam Cooney, but 4 goals, 9's a poor return. Their kicking efficiency is down at 61%, and that's below the league average for the Western Bulldogs. St Kilda kicking at 70%. That's a massive difference, 9%.
And Jaron Geary, he'll look at that and he'll say, well, it was nearly a good kick, but nearly's not good enough when you're coming out of full back.
And that is significant difference, isn't it, Jason, over a night? And they've only had 180 kicks too.
That's right, but you're talking 20-odd kicks that can then lead to turnovers, and turnovers cost goals.
Great tap and raving there from Del Santo.
There's Easton Wood. Oh, was that high on Malera? By Malera, it was.
Trying to pick it up, he didn't duck into it. Let him up, thank you. Thanks, Nathan.
Higgins, ready to go now.
It's been a big pickup, Malera. 15 possessions today. Impressive last week. He's done a couple of nice things tonight.
24-year-old from Port Adelaide in the SANFL.
He's got pace, Ed, though. That's the thing that's so hard to find. 17
disposals and a goal in round 1. 2 goals last week, Jared.
Yep, he's a really good pickup from their recruiting staff.
Jones, here's Cross with another chance for a consolation. Hands it off to Jakura, who should do the rest, and he does.
3 in a row.
And 3 pretty meaningless goals, really, in the scheme of things, but at least it gives them something to go home with and take into next week.
Well, doubling their score in the last term is a start, certainly eating into the percentage boost that St Kilda was headed for.
And the win that we talked about, it's their first quarter win for the season.
Well, I reckon he's worked his way into the starting lineup against the Demons next week.
As I mentioned, he had 15 last week, and I thought starting to play some of his best footy. So as you said, Jared, maybe he won't be the sub next week.
So 9 of the last 10 inside 50s for the Western Bulldogs. They've kicked the last 3 goals in the last 6 minutes of play. 1:22 to go. They'll win their first quarter of the season and have gone from a record losing margin against the Saints to just over 10 goals behind. Consolation prize, small as it is. We're looking for anything at the moment. But at least they're fighting on, which will give the coach something to build on for next week's game against Melbourne. Ball up on defensive 50.
Just the crowd of 28,000, Ed, the lowest between these two sides since 2004.
So Jones, thrown to the ground. It's a tough night for the Bulldogs, so it'll probably cost them money here at Etihad Stadium. And we'll have another ball up.
I think it'll really excite St Kilda fans, though, won't it? It'll put a lot more optimism into their fans about what the season might hold.
Well, I think that tonight is they may have, for those that were just sitting back and waiting to see what happened, they would have to be impressed by what they've seen, particularly forward of the centre.
And guys, it makes it exciting for the return of Ross Lyon next week to the MCG. To MCG, is it? No, here at Etihad Stadium, St Kilda and Fremantle. That becomes a big game. Live and uninterrupted on Fox Footy. That's the best way to watch it. In high definition. Or as good as we can do with what we get. Oh, hang on, McAvoy's hurt himself here. In the last 30 seconds of play, he got one in the nose, so that's all right. I thought he might have just pinched the shoulder on the way through. So a knee in the head. So 22 seconds and counting. And a free kick going the Bulldogs' way here.
Cheers.
So Gene Siracusa has a chance to kick his second and finish it off. It'll be pretty much simultaneous with the siren here as he comes in. The last kick of the night. And it sums it up. I don't know why the umpire blew his whistle there on his last step, but anyway, Gene Siracusa kicks the point. And that's it. The Saints have won by 63 points. 15-13, 103, defeating the Western Bulldogs 5-10-40. The Bulldogs kicking the last 3 goals of the game to win their first quarter of the season. Small consolation, of course, because it was dominated right throughout by the St Kilda Football Club. They just careered away, took plenty out of it. They came here, Jared and Jason Dunstall, with one thing, and that was to squeeze the life out of the game, and they did that for the 3 quarters in the first 10 minutes of the final term, and that was enough for a convincing win.
Yeah, they were very impressive from full-back to full-forward, the way they played, the way they moved the ball. Quite clearly they've come in to the season, Jason, with a structure trying to use Reece Stanley to give them another tall option, but also to take some heat off Nick Grewald. And if they continue to win the ball as they have done with Lenny Hayes and Del Santo Goddard and Clint Jones in his 100th game, those 4 players or 3 players are going to get plenty of options to market.
They did an outstanding job. I think David King has caught up with a man that was certainly amongst the very best for the Saints, Lenny Hayes. A lazy 30 possessions.
Just a lazy 30, Jay said upstairs there. One of the most popular Saints players ever. Lenny, congratulations and welcome back big time.
Yeah, thanks, King. Yeah, it's good to be back, mate. It's good to play in front of a Saints crowd and get another win. It's great.
It was a complete performance, wasn't it? Really just suffocated the Dogs with their ball use and then put the icing on the cake at the forward end.
Yeah, look, they got a few late in that last quarter, but I thought we came out after half-time and really put the pressure on them and put some score on the board too. So, yeah, it was a good performance.
You feel you're having some impact yourself personally and the leadership group on some of these younger guys coming through now?
Yeah, mate, I reckon they're having just as much impact on us. They've really, set the standard in pre-season, and it's great to have some youth in the team, and they're playing really good footy and slotting in and being part of the team, so it's great to have them in there.
You enjoying this?
Mate, loving it. It's good to be back.
Congratulations, well done.
Thanks, mate.
You'd be surprised if he wasn't amongst the votes, Lenny Hayes. To go with his 30 possessions, he had 7 clearances and 8 tackles. 77%.
It was fantastic, but I think, Jason, one of the things that is so significant tonight was the point that Jared Healy was making earlier tonight about running, and you were making as well, about the pre-seasons you have to put in to be able to do those second and third efforts. And to see Lenny Hayes do it, coming off a knee reconstruction, and build his tank back up to as good as anything in the league, and just see him running along that outer wing at one stage there in the last quarter was just sensational. Now, one of the players we love tonight is the mature age recruit, Terry Malera, who's 24 years of age. He's done beautifully. The Bulldogs fans not happy, as we're just seeing some pictures here. But in the meantime, let's go down to David King with Terry Malera, who has just been a beauty in his first 3 games for the Saints.
Well, Terry, you must be just having a ball out here, loving life at the Saints.
Yeah, loving it. 2 wins on the trot. Good performance by the boys tonight. Very well done.
You feel you've improved as a player in your recent months at the Saints, training under the leadership of these class senior players in Lenny Hayes and Del Sando, Montagna and the like?
Yeah, definitely. Probably one of the best midfielders in the competition. Dow, Joey, BJ, all good boys down at Saints. Yeah, learn a lot from them guys every day. Yeah, just loving it at the moment.
Young man from Sejuna. Tell us a little bit about your history, a little bit about your past.
Yeah, back from Sejuna. I moved to Adelaide probably 5 years. Been up in Adelaide playing. Finally get opportunity at AFL level. I'm just, loving life at the moment.
Oh, well done, mate. Go and enjoy this with the boys. Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Loving life, all right. 15 possessions. And in his 3 games so far, he's had a real impact. 17 disposals and a goal on debut. Backed it up with 2 goals last week. He was in amongst it again tonight. Smiles all around for the Saints. Gilbert with a bit of a back injury, the only downside, but he should be right. Didn't look too inconvenienced. And while the Bulldogs get the rounds of the kitchen going off the ground, the Saints get a standing round of applause. And so they should, because they have dominated this game to win by 63 points, 15-13-103. The Bulldogs 5-10-40. This is Fox Footy.